Chapter 5:15. In that instant, within a radius of several hundred miles, one could see that dazzling streak of blazing rainbow light. The three-eyed saint's third eye was like the eye of heaven, and it looked down on the ground. Boom! Zhao Feng, who was 100 yards away, was engulfed by the blazing light that seemed capable of incinerating everything in its path. What a dominating eye bloodline technique! The three-eyed divine light that's said to be able to break through all techniques. The power of this eye bloodline covered everything within 1 mile. The eyes of some of the eye bloodline geniuses, such as Tuobachi and the ghost-eyed man, trembled, and they felt like they couldn't breathe. Bam! Tung! Tung! Zhao Feng seemed to be hit by a powerful force, and his body was almost sent flying as he was forced to retreat. The instant he was hit by the three-eyed divine light, both Zhao Feng's soul and body felt heavy, as if they were being crushed by an ancient elephant. Wang! Ripples of water surrounded Zhao Feng's body, and it started to dim at a visible rate. This three-eyed divine light is a special attack that can destroy both the physical and mental energy. Zhao Feng's heart shook as he retreated. Wherever he went, he left behind a bottomless trench that emitted green smoke. The impact of the three eyes light was truly domineering. The blazing rainbow light could burn and annihilate all things. Whoosh! Zhao Feng's body was engulfed by the flames of the divine light, and continued to burn. Zhao Feng's soul wasn't able to escape the flames of the three-eyed divine light either. This lasted for 2 or 3 breaths before Zhao Feng retreated half a mile. Only then did the three-eyed divine light's attack disappear. At this moment, the ripples of water around Zhao Feng's body had dimmed by half. A large trench was formed between the three-eyed saint and Zhao Feng. The shocking scene gave the spectators a great visual impact, causing them to be unable to calm their astonishment. No wonder it's worthy of being the strongest eye bloodline in the continent. It's strong enough. Zhao Feng's hair and clothes were disheveled, and he could feel a faint pain coming from his bones. It felt like he was being crushed by a huge force. Just now, it wasn't that Zhao Feng didn't want to dodge the attack, but that he didn't have the strength to do so. In fact, the three-eyed saint's attacks weren't as fast as the heavenly piercing eye. However, once the three-eyed saint's sacred eye bloodline locked onto him, the space where his mind and body were would be permeated by the divine light. In that state, his body and mind seemed to have sunk into a swamp. As a result, even though Zhao Feng could see the three-eyed saint's attack trajectory clearly, he could barely dodge it. At the same time, on the other side of the trench, he's actually not injured. No one under the half-step primal core realm can escape unscathed from my three eyes light. The three-eyed saint's pupils constricted with shock. At least on the surface, Zhao Feng's clothes and hair were messy, and there were no signs of injury. You should know, the three eyes divine light could destroy the body and mind at the same time, and it was said to be able to destroy everything. Those with a strong soul couldn't block it, and those with a strong body couldn't block it. However, the youth in front of him had easily done it. After the evolution of Zhao Feng's eye bloodline, his water bloodline had been growing, and it specialized in defense and healing. The three-eyed saint's three eyes divine light was a part of the fire of the sun, and it was slightly suppressed by Zhao Feng's water bloodline. As for mental energy attacks, Zhao Feng had always been able to ignore them. Furthermore, his soul wasn't much weaker than an origin core realm sovereign's. It's my turn. Zhao Feng's left eye suddenly turned azure, and a wisp of faint purple flashed within it. What? Switching between eye bloodlines? The three-eyed saint and the heirs of the other 2 eye bloodline families shook in disbelief. Normally, the element of an eye bloodline was already decided from birth. This kind of switching was only limited to some legendary eye bloodlines. In the blink of an eye, whoosh! A translucent dragon-shaped ball of wind lightning shot toward the three-eyed saint, as if it came from another dimension. Wind lightning eye flame. This was Zhao Feng's most explosive eye bloodline technique. It contained the elements of wind, lightning and fire, as well as the aura of destruction. The instant the wind lightning eye flame hit him, the three-eyed saint felt as if he was in hell, and was being burned by lightning. In terms of endurance, the wind lightning eye flame wasn't as strong as the three-eyed divine light, but it was more explosive. In this sense of danger, the three-eyed saint's third eye twitched. Divine light of destruction. A twisting beam of sunlight had a crystal-clear feeling. When it passed through the void, it gave the illusion of sunlight passing through glass. Whoosh! The divine light of destruction seemed to be both invisible and physical, as it clashed with the wind lightning eye flame. A weird scene appeared. Shoo! The rampaging wind lightning eye flame was about to explode. But it was split apart, analyzed, and dispersed by the powerful blazing sun divine light. Its might was reduced by more than half. Boom! The three-eyed saint's figure shook as he was forced back several steps. His body and soul were being corroded by the wind lightning eye flame. However, after being disintegrated by the divine light of destruction, the wind lightning eye flame's threat to him was minimal. The three-eyed saint let out a breath as a faint smile appeared on his face. Zhao Feng's wind lightning eye flame was too strong. It could almost instantly kill a late-stage true lord rank. On the other side of the ditch. This is the three-eyed divine light of destruction? It can even split and analyze my strongest wind lightning eye flame. Zhao Feng's expression became solemn. The three-eyed saint's three-eyed divine light had two main types. The first was offensive and could disintegrate mental and physical energy. The second was defensive and could disintegrate all kinds of attacks, including eye bloodlines. Whether it was offense or defense, it could kill both the physical and mental energy world. This was also the reason why the Golden Sun family's sacred eye bloodline had reached the peak of perfection. On the other hand, most eye bloodlines had different attributes and attack types. For example, Zhao Feng's was more oriented towards the soul. For example, Qi Gui from the Black Cliff Palace was more oriented towards the Tao of Ghosts, and Tuoba Qi's heavenly piercing eye was more oriented towards the physical. However, the Golden Sun family's sacred eye bloodline had reached a high level of fusion between physical and mental energy. Zhao Feng, I didn't expect you to have the legendary ability to switch between eye bloodlines. However, no matter what you do, it's useless against the sacred eye bloodline of the Golden Sun family. The three-eyed saint's third eye shone brightly, and it looked like a burning golden crow as he circulated his eye bloodline power. Eye of illusion. Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye clashed with the three-eyed saint's third eye. In an instant, Zhao Feng's left eye turned into a bottomless abyss that radiated a fatal attraction. The three-eyed saint's heart shook. He was unable to resist the attraction. The Eye of Illusion represented Zhao Feng's mastery of mental energy. With the support of his soul and source of mental energy, even someone as strong as the three-eyed saint wasn't able to resist it. Shwa! The three-eyed saint's consciousness blurred, and he entered a unique dimension filled with wind, lightning, and coldness. His body was bound by chains of lightning, and he couldn't move. Zhao Feng, your mental energy eye bloodline technique is indeed strong. A faint smile appeared on the three-eyed saint's face, even though he was trapped in the illusion dimension. Divine light of destruction. The three-eyed saint's third eye once again shot out a ray of light. Boom! The illusion dimension created by Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye instantly crumbled. The divine light of destruction could not only disintegrate attacks, but it could also disintegrate mental energy. The three-eyed divine light destroyed everything. In the real dimension, Shua, Zhao Feng, and the three-eyed saint were still standing at the two ends of the ditch, as if nothing had happened. The spectators all held their breaths. Only Tuoba Qi, the ghost-eyed man, and a few others could understand the battle between the two eye bloodline geniuses. This Zhao Feng's mental energy is too strong. Luckily, I listened to Sister Wei's suggestion and brought 3 or 4 pieces of Soul Dao defensive equipment. This is already the limit of the Golden Sun family. Cold sweat appeared on the three-eyed saint's forehead. It was because of this preparation that the three-eyed saint was able to easily break through the illusion dimension, even though his mental energy wasn't as strong as Zhao Feng's. As I thought, Zhao Feng stood still as his blue hair blew in the wind. The Eye of Illusion's failure wasn't out of his expectations. The three-eyed saint had prepared 3 or 4 pieces of Soul Dao defensive equipment, but that was out of Zhao Feng's expectations. Zhao Feng, your biggest reliance is your eye bloodline. Your fate is sealed. The three-eyed saint stood proudly. At this moment the other 2 eye bloodline inheritors, Tuoba Qi and the ghost-eyed man, also sighed. The three-eyed saint's sacred eye bloodline countered most of the other eye bloodlines in the world. Otherwise, the Golden Sun family wouldn't have been able to obtain the title of being the strongest eye bloodline in the continent. Three-eyed divine light, Golden Crow World Incineration. The three-eyed saint's third eye released a three-legged flaming bird that was shaped like a golden crow. It let out a faint cry and released a forbidden fiery aura that pierced through the air. This time, the power of the three-eyed light mystic technique had risen to a higher level. Before the attack even reached him, Zhao Feng felt as if the air around him had been pierced by some sort of power and burned. In theory, it would be very difficult for Zhao Feng to dodge this attack. This was because the three-eyed divine light had locked onto him. However, Zhao Feng didn't even think about dodging. Eye of Ice Soul shooting line. Zhao Feng's left eye once again shot out a half-transparent beam of light. Whoosh! The beam of light shot through the air and clashed with the three-eyed divine light. The instant they clashed, the Ice Soul shooting line was at a disadvantage. After all, the three-eyed divine light had the power of destruction and analysis. However, a bone-chilling coldness shot out from Zhao Feng's left eye, as if it was a limitless abyss. Within the dimension of his left eye, the lake of eye bloodline power gave Zhao Feng limitless support. Woo! That translucent dark blue cold rainbow released a layer of cold and beautiful crystal light. It actually stabilized in the air and continued to extend. Eye of Ice Soul freeze. Zhao Feng had already comprehended some of the essence of the ball of Ice Soul. Like invisible tentacles, the Ice Soul ray froze the oncoming three-eyed flame bird to a certain extent, causing its momentum to plummet. Chapter 5:16. In the air, a half-transparent ray of light intertwined with the Golden Crow's blazing divine light. In the first half-breath, the three-eyed saint's blazing divine light had the absolute advantage. Zhao Feng's Ice Soul shooting line was about to dissipate. However, at the critical moment, a surge of cold energy entered and caused the Eye of Ice Soul to change. The deep blue cold rainbow was crystal bright and beautiful. The Ice Soul cold energy was restrained and condensed, becoming even more stable. The three-eyed saint's blazing divine light seemed to freeze, and its momentum decreased. The Ice Soul shooting line is focused on offense, but it's not very stable. On the other hand, the Ice Soul solidification doesn't focus on offense. It focuses on freezing. In Zhao Feng's mind, the intent from the ball of Ice Soul turned into countless particles that collided with each other. The ball of Ice Soul contained many intents related to ice. In the past, Zhao Feng hadn't put much emphasis on solidification. However, facing the three-eyed saint's three-eyed divine light this time, the ability to disintegrate and freeze came in handy. Just like that, the two completely opposite eye bloodline techniques clashed in the air. They extended and contracted, and it was hard to tell which was stronger for the time being. One was splitting and analyzing, while the other was freezing. This was only the specialty of eye bloodline techniques. Apart from that, the three-eyed divine light was more of the blazing sun element, while the Eye of Ice Soul was more of the ice element. The two were completely opposite in terms of attributes, and they resisted each other. The three-eyed saint's three-eyed divine light has been blocked. But that Zhao Feng doesn't have the advantage either. The spectators held their breaths as their faces were filled with excitement. This battle was definitely a battle between the strongest eye bloodlines on the continent. The three-eyed divine light has been blocked by that brat. How can a measly azure flower continent have such a monstrous eye bloodline? The three-eyed saint's expression twisted as anger and unwillingness appeared on his face. Although Zhao Feng's Ice Soul solidification wasn't as profound and complete as his three-eyed divine light, it was still a bit inferior. After all, the inheritance of the Golden Sun family's eye bloodline techniques had a long history, while Zhao Feng's eye bloodline techniques had been discovered and replicated by himself. There was a slight difference in their foundation. However, in terms of quality and quantity, Zhao Feng's eye intent was stronger than his. It was because of this, Zhao Feng's Eye of Ice Soul was able to rival the profound three-eyed light that he had inherited on a distant mountain peak. What shocking eye power! Even Sheng pales in comparison to the quantity of his eye bloodline. Jinyang Shengtian's face was filled with shock as a trace of greed flashed across his eyes. This Zhao Feng's eye bloodline is indeed blessed by the heavens. Its source of eye bloodline power is immeasurable, and it can be switched. The Straw Hat Old Man sighed. As time passed, their expressions gradually turned solemn. In the air, the three-eyed saint's scorching sun divine light took up 2/3 of the distance, giving him a huge advantage. But in the next few breaths, the length of the blazing sun divine light gradually decreased. Think of the corresponding. The ice soul beam from Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye was slowly increasing, until it was half its length. When the two beams each took up half of the distance, the three-eyed saint didn't have any advantage anymore. From the looks of it, Zhao Feng's source of eye bloodline power was still increasing and pressing down on Jinyang Xingtian. This is impossible. The three-eyed saint gritted his teeth and circulated the power of his third eye. However, no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't regain his advantage. Zhao Feng took up at least half of the distance and continued to press down on Jinyang Xingtian. 5/10, 6/10, 7/10. Seeing that Zhao Feng's advantage was becoming bigger and bigger. This Zhao Feng is a monster. His eye bloodline power is able to suppress the three-eyed saint. Tuobachi and the ghost-eyed man looked at each other in shock. At this moment, although the victor hadn't been decided yet, Zhao Feng's advantage was increasing. The scales of victory were slowly tilting towards Zhao Feng. When the ice soul beam took up 3/4 of the distance, the three-eyed saint started to feel tired. The three-eyed divine light was undeniably domineering. However, such a powerful eye bloodline technique also exhausted a lot of eye bloodline power. How is this possible? How is his expression still the same? The three-eyed saint couldn't believe it. On the other side of the ditch, Zhao Feng was still calm and collected. One had to know that the strength of Zhao Feng's soul was comparable to that of an origin core realm. How could the three-eyed saint compare? If the battle dragged on, the three-eyed saint would definitely lose. Three-eyed saint, is the result of our battle already decided? Zhao Feng mocked as he continued to pressure the three-eyed saint. Hearing this, the three-eyed saint's face paled and became extremely ugly. His face was filled with rage. Indeed, before and during the battle, the three-eyed saint was extremely confident. Zhao Feng specialized in his eye bloodline and was destined to be countered by him to death. On the contrary, Zhao Feng had an overwhelming advantage in eye bloodline power, so he didn't underestimate him. Jinyang Xingtian, no matter who wins or loses, I'm here to humbly challenge the Jinyang family, the #1 eye bloodline on the continent. Zhao Feng shook his head and said, humbly, learn. The expressions of the spectators became weird. Although Zhao Feng's performance at the tea party couldn't be considered arrogant, it wasn't the same as learning from others. Humbly learning? Could it be? On the other hand, the ghost-eyed man seemed to think of something and his heart shook. On a faraway mountain, what game is this Zhao Feng playing? The eyebrows of the head of the Jinyang family furrowed. It doesn't matter what he's playing. If this continues, Sheng-Er will lose. The grass hat elder rolled his eyes. With me behind the scenes, how can Sheng-Er lose? The head of the Golden Sun family snickered coldly. Shua. He sat cross-legged in a corner of the mountain peak, and the third eye on his forehead suddenly opened. Being the three-eyed saint's father, the head of the Golden Sun family's eye bloodline was similar to the three-eyed saint's. However, in terms of eye bloodline power, the head of the Golden Sun family far surpassed the three-eyed saint. Wang, the head of the Golden Sun family, placed his hands on his forehead, and a sliver of blood leaked out of his sacred eye. Wisps of fiery golden eye bloodline aura turned into threads that entered the air. That's right. You and your father are connected by bloodline, so you can use a secret technique of the Golden Sun family to transfer eye bloodline power over a certain distance. The grass hat elder nodded his head faintly. He wasn't surprised. In the next instant, the three-eyed saint's third eye released a golden light as a surge of eye bloodline power surged out. What's going on? What secret technique did the three-eyed saint use to release such a powerful eye bloodline power? The hearts of Tuobachi, the ghost-eyed man, and company jumped as they exclaimed. In just a short breath, the three-eyed saint's eye bloodline power had almost doubled. Wang, Zhao Feng's ice soul beam was about to reach the three-eyed saint, but it was pushed back by the blazing light. Zhao Feng was shocked. Shwa! Shwa! As the blazing light was about to hit him, a gust of wind and lightning was left behind. Wings of wind and lightning. A pair of wings of wind and lightning extended from Zhao Feng's back, and the power of wind and lightning in the heaven and earth became active, and created a barrage of lightning. At this moment, Zhao Feng felt like his body was as light as a feather, and the wings of wind and lightning resonated with the power of heaven and earth. He even felt like he was standing at the center of the wind and lightning world. So, over the past half a year, Zhao Feng's comprehension of the wings of wind and lightning had increased, especially after comprehending the intent of a sovereign. Zhao Feng, no matter how fast you are, you won't be able to escape my light. The three-eyed saint roared as the gloominess on his face disappeared. It was replaced with joy and excitement. At the critical moment, he received the help of his father's eye bloodline, and it was as if there was a river of eye bloodline power behind him. Three-eyed light. With the help of his father's eye bloodline power, the three-eyed saint once again circulated his sacred eye, and its power was almost double that of before. Zhao Feng suddenly felt an invisible eye bloodline power that could pierce through both the physical and mental energies, and he felt a burning sensation. Once he was locked onto, he wouldn't be able to dodge. However, at this moment, Zhao Feng laughed faintly and flapped his wings of wind and lightning. Countless small arcs of lightning flashed through the air and pushed the heaven-earth yuan qi away. Bam! The wings of wind and lightning flapped, and Zhao Feng's figure flashed as he broke through the invisible eye bloodline power and disappeared. Boom! The three-eyed saint's scorching divine light missed. How did he do that? The three-eyed saint's expression froze in disbelief. Ever since he was born, this was the first time he had met a genius of the same level, who could dodge his three divine eyes' light so easily. On a faraway mountain? What kind of secret technique is that? It seems to contain a sliver of the laws of space, and allowed him to escape from the bloodline feast. The head of the Golden Sun family and the Grass Hat Elder were both surprised. Shwa! With the help of the wings of wind and lightning, Zhao Feng's speed and agility increased dramatically, and he soon disappeared from the three-eyed saint's sight. Suddenly, the three-eyed saint felt a chill on his back. It was as if an invisible blade had sliced through his body. Azure Eye Piercing Slash. Zhao Feng's left eye turned azure once again, and the wings of wind and lightning flapped. He was like an ancient demonic wind god of war. Whoosh! A half-transparent blade of wind slashed toward the three-eyed saint. Some of the geniuses present felt a sense of familiarity. The signs of the invisible sharp slash were extremely similar to the heavenly piercing eye. What's going on? This is the Tuoba family's heavenly piercing eye secret technique. Tuoba Chi rose to his feet with a shocked expression. However, by the time everyone realized it, Zhao Feng's Azure Eye Piercing Slash had already been completed. Because he had merged the Wind Lightning Emperor's laws of speed into it, the blade of wind was even faster than the heavenly piercing eye. Whoosh! The three-eyed saint couldn't help but groan as a bloody gash half an inch deep appeared on his back. Even though he had already used a golden barrier to protect himself, it was too late. Although the three-eyed saint could disperse this attack, Zhao Feng's Azure Eye Piercing Slash was faster and more powerful than Tuoba Chi's. Furthermore, the timing was perfect, and it struck the three-eyed saint's weak spot from behind. Chapter 517. Shoo! The three-eyed saint's back was sliced open by the blade of wind and blood splattered. Its sharpness and speed had surpassed the dodging limit of a true lord rank. Why does this move look like the heavenly piercing eye? The true dragon geniuses present felt a sense of déjà vu. Even Tuoba Chi sprang to his feet in shock and confusion. At this moment in time, Tuoba Chi's heavenly piercing eye had been successfully copied by Zhao Feng, and its power and speed far surpassed the original heavenly piercing eye. That's right. It's this copied ability. The ghost-eyed man's heart shook. Back at the sacred True Dragon gathering, Zhao Feng had copied the theory of his ghost eye flame, and created the lightning fire god's eye, which turned into the wind lightning eye flame. And now, this copying ability had appeared once again on Zhao Feng. The ghost-eyed man didn't believe that the Azure Eye Piercing Slash that Zhao Feng cultivated was so similar to the heavenly piercing eye. The only difference between the Azure Eye Piercing Slash and the heavenly piercing eye was the element of the eye. The former was of the wind element, while the latter was of the metal element. The similarity was the sharpness and the sharpness. When did he learn my heavenly piercing eye? Tuobachi was shocked and bewildered. However, now wasn't the time for him to ask questions. Zhao Feng and the three-eyed saint had already gained the upper hand. Furthermore, Zhao Feng's advantage was his heavenly piercing eye. Tuobachi felt bitter in his heart. He had lost to Zhao Feng in the first place, and the heavenly piercing eye was even more powerful in Zhao Feng's hands. Heavenly piercing eye? He's even learned the Tuoba family's eye bloodline technique? The three-eyed saint suppressed the pain in his back. In the past, of the three great eye bloodline clans, the only one he was wary of was the heavenly piercing eye. This was because the heavenly piercing eye was too fast. At this moment in time, in his heart, Zhao Feng wasn't just a normal enemy but a nightmare. In reality, the three-eyed saint could be considered to have lost. If it wasn't for his father's help, the three-eyed saint wouldn't have been able to last until now. On a distant mountain peak, this kid has the specialty of the Wu's and Tuoba's bloodline pupil techniques, as well as his own phantom pupil technique and ice pupil technique. The head of the Golden Sun family took a deep breath. In terms of the diversity of his eye bloodline, Zhao Feng was able to use it flexibly in different situations. Adding on the fact that his eye bloodline power was extremely strong, he was able to utilize this advantage even more. Under such circumstances, the only thing the head of the Golden Sun family could do was try his best to support his son. Unfortunately, the transfer of eye bloodline power will be slightly weakened due to the distance. The old man in the straw hat sighed. The three-eyed saint could only absorb 60% of the head of the Golden Sun family's power. Even so, the three-eyed saint's eye bloodline power had almost doubled. However, the outcome of the battle was no longer a contest of eye bloodline power. Three-eyed divine light, a blinding light shot through the air, and locked onto Zhao Feng once more. Bam! Shwa! The wings of wind and lightning on Zhao Feng's back flapped, as he dodged the three-eyed saint's attack once more. Azure Eye Piercing Slash. Wind Lightning Eye Flame. Zhao Feng's lightning-fast attacks made the three-eyed saint fluster. The three-eyed saint barely managed to block the Azure Eye Piercing Slash, but he didn't have enough time to break through the Wind Lightning Eye Flame. His clothes and hair were in a mess as he gritted his teeth and counterattacked. Three-eyed Divine Light, Bright Sun Heavenly Star. The third eye that glowed with a golden light was like a blazing suncrow, and the blazing flames of the sun raged violently like a volcano erupting. It shot out a myriad of golden rays of the sun, and it carried an aura of obliteration. Boom! The ground within a mile started to shake and dust rose. Tens of thousands of blazing golden sun spots whistled through the starry sky and landed on the ground. Every time one of them hit the ground, it would leave a hole as big as a house. Millions of rays of golden light gathered together and seemed to be able to destroy the stars in the sky. It was a disaster. Furthermore, such a powerful attack was aimed at one person. Even a half-step primal core realm cultivator would retreat when facing such an attack, not wanting to take it head-on. Bright Sun Heavenly Star. It's this move. Sheng-Er, are you crazy? If you're not at the half-step origin core realm, using this move will harm your sacred eye bloodline. The expression of the head of the Golden Sun family changed dramatically as he sighed. The stronger the eye bloodline, the more burden it would place on the eye bloodline. For example, Zhao Feng's Wind Lightning Eye Flame couldn't be used more than 3 times in a row, and that was only because his eye bloodline was strong. The three-eyed saint's celestial sacred sun was a forbidden technique that he could barely use with the help of his father's eye power. It was enough to instantly destroy a force like the Broken Moon clan. Boom! The True Dragon Tea Party's area shook as if mountains were collapsing. The spectators turned pale with fright. Under the horrifying golden sun rain, they felt as if they were ants trying to survive. Luckily, the range of that attack was only half a mile around Zhao Feng. Otherwise, more than half of the spectators nearby would be injured or killed. What a powerful attack! The wings of wind and lightning on Zhao Feng's back fluttered as he tried to escape. Bo! Zhao Feng's body was surrounded by a layer of blue water, and the occasional scorching golden spot that brushed past him was absorbed as much as possible. Shua! A faint purple aura suddenly surrounded the wings of wind and lightning, and Zhao Feng's speed reached a whole new level. This faint purple aura was the purple wind lightning from the wind lightning stone tablet. Even just a wisp of it could increase one's speed. Whoosh! In just one or two blinks of an eye, Zhao Feng arrived near the clouds. The sun heavenly stars didn't pose much of a threat to Zhao Feng. On the other hand, the spectators on the ground were caught up in the shockwaves of the eye technique. Cries of alarm rang out, and dust billowed. Speed! Looks like it'll be very difficult for Sheng to win this battle. The grass hat elder sighed. If it was a normal three-eyed divine light, Zhao Feng might be able to dodge it. However, Zhao Feng's bright sun heavenly star flashed past it in an instant. There was nothing he could do about it. Of course, the grass hat elder could tell that Zhao Feng was able to dodge this attack, not only because of his speed, but also because of his keen senses and judgment. Zhao Feng had already sensed the three-eyed saint's attack, and was prepared for it. Facing such a terrifying opponent, the three-eyed saint had unparalleled insight, judgment, speed and eye bloodline techniques. The three-eyed saint's chances of winning were minuscule. Even if he can't win, Sheng just needs to defend with the divine light of destruction and my eye bloodline power. The Golden Sun Sacred Lord gritted his teeth and said unwillingly. He immediately told the three-eyed saint his plan through their eye bloodline. This is the only way. I have to keep the title of the strongest eye bloodline on the continent. The three-eyed saint's heart dropped. His personal victory wasn't important, but he represented the Golden Sun family's most talented genius in the past 1,000 years, and had a sacred eye bloodline that was only weaker than the three-eyed heavenly emperor. If he lost, the title of the strongest eye bloodline on the continent would probably change hands. Unknowingly, the Golden Sun Sacred Lord and the three-eyed saint's demands kept on dropping. At the beginning, they wanted to defeat Zhao Feng no matter what. Up until now, being able to guarantee that he wouldn't lose was already his greatest hope. Zhao Feng, the battle of eye bloodline techniques between us is of great significance. Even if you win, what's the point of dodging like this? The three-eyed saint took a deep breath as he looked at the blue-haired youth. Zhao Feng was still unharmed. Even when he broke through to the sun heavenly star, his speed and defense had reached the limits of the true lord rank. In terms of speed and defense, he had reached the limit of the true lord rank, and had even broken through. Good, good. Zhao Feng faintly smiled, and said two good words. Shua. His figure quickly descended, and his left eye switched to the azure pupil state. Wang, layers of azure light surrounded Zhao Feng's left eye, and it became bright like an azure moon. That's... Tuoba Chi and the ghost-eyed man's hearts shook as they looked at Zhao Feng's left eye. The moon form of Zhao Feng's left eye matched the three-eyed saint's sun form better. At this moment, the eye bloodline power condensed in Zhao Feng's left eye was stronger than ever. Although it couldn't surpass the three-eyed saint's, it was extremely condensed, and he had complete control over it. The inheritors of the eye bloodlines could see that the azure moon in Zhao Feng's left eye was formed from countless particles of azure light. What move is this Zhao Feng trying to use? The spectators held their breaths. Such powerful eye bloodline power, is this Zhao Feng's true strength? The three-eyed saint and the head of the Golden Sun family were stunned. If Zhao Feng had used such powerful eye bloodline power earlier, the three-eyed saint wouldn't have been able to last until now. However, Zhao Feng hadn't done so. What was his goal? I've already said that I'm here to learn from you and challenge the continent's #1 eye bloodline family. A light and calm voice swept across the void. As soon as he finished speaking, a bright azure light shot out from Zhao Feng's left eye, and it glittered with countless particles of sharpness. Divine light of destruction. The cyan light pierced through the clouds. The dust in the air was cut and split again and again. Everything in the world was minced and annihilated into dust particles. Before the sharp green light even got close, everyone felt a chill that pierced straight into their bodies and souls. The instant their gazes met Zhao Feng's left eye, they felt as if their eyes were being sliced into countless pieces. How is this possible? The divine light of destruction is a unique eye bloodline technique of the Golden Sun family. How did that brat, the head of the Golden Sun family, who was standing on a mountain far away, was dumbfounded. How does he know my divine light of destruction? The three-eyed saint exclaimed. At this moment of danger, he circulated his three-eyed divine light of destruction. Whoosh! In the horizon, a ray of light from the scorching sun collided with another ray of azure light from the cold moon, and it caused starlight that seemed like illusory bubbles to splash out. Chapter 518. Boom! The two similar rays of divine light of destruction clashed in the sky. Zhao Feng's divine light of destruction descended from the sky. It was a cold beam of light surrounded by countless tiny particles that could slice apart anything in its path. The three-eyed saint's divine light of destruction met the attack from below. It was a beam of light that could split apart everything, including the soul. The instant the two collided, the collision produced a five-colored starfire, and countless particles were annihilated within it. However, what was weird was that the two rays of divine light of destruction didn't completely devour each other. Instead, they passed through each other. This scene was out of everyone's expectations. Even the three-eyed saint was surprised. Whoosh! Whoosh! The two rays of divine light of destruction used up a portion of their physical power before passing through each other. The difference was, Zhao Feng's divine light of destruction was a physical attack, while the three-eyed saint's divine light of destruction could destroy both the physical and mental energies. At the peak of the mountain, wait! His divine light of destruction isn't complete. It only has the ability to split the physical world. The head of the Golden Sun family exclaimed, the complete divine light of destruction should be able to split the physical and mental energies at the same time. Zhao Feng, on the other hand, had probably copied this eye bloodline technique in a short amount of time and hadn't completely learned it. He only had the ability to split and analyze matter. This meant that Zhao Feng's divine light of destruction could only neutralize the three-eyed saint's physical power. It couldn't block the mental power at all. But at the same time, Zhao Feng focused all of his eye bloodline power on the physical dimension, giving him an overwhelming advantage in this aspect. As a result, such a scene appeared. The two rays of divine light of destruction only managed to cancel out a portion of it before passing through each other. Ha ha ha! Zhao Feng, you stole my divine light of annihilation, but you only learned half of it. The three-eyed saint couldn't help but laugh. It was obvious that Zhao Feng had only learned half of the divine light of destruction's profundities. The reason why the Golden Sun family's sacred eye bloodline could counter most eye bloodline techniques was because of its ability to kill both the physical and mental energies. The divine light of destruction built on this foundation could basically break through all kinds of secret eye techniques. Half of the divine light of destruction is more than enough to deal with you, Zhao Feng said calmly. As soon as he finished speaking, the two beams of destruction divine light crossed each other. After a slight pause, they struck their targets. Not good. Isn't this a lose-lose situation? Some of the spectators turned pale. The head of the Golden Sun family and the old man wearing the straw hat, who were far away on the top of the mountain, became serious. A draw is also a good result. The old man in the straw hat stroked his beard. Everyone watched as the beam of light dimmed by half and landed on the three-eyed saint. The three-eyed saint gritted his teeth and circulated his chi of true spirit. A layer of golden runes appeared on his body to block the powerful slicing power of the azure ray. On the other side, Zhao Feng calmly stood where he was. He didn't make any defensive movements, allowing the scorching sunlight, which was only a mental attack, to penetrate his body. Within the dimension of his left eye, waves appeared on the lake, and a mysterious whirlpool spun at a high speed. No matter how the scorching sunlight split and disintegrated, it would turn back into a hole. The situation was like a chainsaw stabbing into a tub of water. How is this possible? The three-eyed saint felt as if his divine light of destruction had pierced through a bottomless lake. Zhao Feng completely ignored the remaining part of his divine light of destruction. So that's how it is. The ghost-eyed man and Tuobachi looked at each other and understood. As it turned out, Zhao Feng's divine light of destruction focused on the physical dimension, and his eye bloodline power was much stronger when it came to splitting and slicing the physical dimension. This way, The physical attack of the three-eyed saint's divine light of destruction was completely nullified by Zhao Feng. All that was left was the mental energy attack. However, Zhao Feng completely ignored the divine light of destruction, which was only a mental attack. This was the biggest advantage of his god's spiritual eye. However, his opponent, the three-eyed saint, didn't have the ability to ignore the divine light of destruction in the physical dimension. Sii. The three-eyed saint harumphed. The divine light of destruction that Zhao Feng had used still had 30 to 40% of its power left, but he had taken it head-on. On one hand, he had to use the divine light of destruction, and on the other hand, he had to use his chi of true spirit to protect himself. On the other hand, Zhao Feng, all he needed to do was to activate the divine light of destruction with all his might, and perform the splitting and slicing of matter to the extreme. Like this, the gap between the two of them widened. Wang! Countless specks of sharpness appeared on the azure light, and sliced his body apart. In just 2 breaths, the three-eyed saint screamed as tiny cuts appeared on his body. I told you that I only need half of my divine light of destruction to beat you. A faint smile appeared on Zhao Feng's face. Indeed, he hadn't fully comprehended the divine light of destruction, and the mental energy attack was extremely complicated. However, Zhao Feng didn't need the other half of the mental energy attack. One had to know that. The three-eyed saint had 3 or 4 pieces of soul-protecting equipment on him. He knew that Zhao Feng specialized in mental energy techniques, and had prepared them for him. If Zhao Feng used the divine light of destruction's mental energy attack, wouldn't it be a waste? Therefore, Zhao Feng decided to cut off the other half of the divine light of destruction, and only use the other half of the divine light of destruction. It was like Tianji's horse race, hitting the three-eyed saint's weak spot. Break! Zhao Feng's left eye released an even stronger surge of eye bloodline power. Only now did he reveal his true strength. Wang, the cold moon azure rainbow that pierced through the void shone with dazzling light, becoming even sharper and colder. Arg! The three-eyed saint let out a cry. His body was a bloody mess with countless cuts. Whoosh! The three-eyed saint's body flew back, and fell into a pool of blood. Zhao Feng stood in the clouds and looked down. He didn't kill the three-eyed saint. At this moment, the entire tea party was dead silent, and the sound of people taking in cold breaths could be heard. The ghost-eyed man and Tuobachi looked at each other. The three-eyed saint's defeat wasn't just miserable, it was also a humiliation. He didn't lose to his opponent's eye bloodline, but to his own divine light of destruction. This made everyone remember what Zhao Feng had said. I'm going to challenge the continent's #1 eye bloodline family with a humble attitude. On the peak of the mountain, humble attitude. The grass hat elder's face twitched. This Zhao Feng is very shrewd. He clearly has the advantage in eye bloodline power, but he's going to challenge him with such humility. I've already used my eye bloodline power on Sheng. But I was still 1 step behind. The head of the Golden Sun family said unwillingly. According to the plan, with his eye bloodline power supporting the three-eyed saint, the difference in eye bloodline power between the two wouldn't be too big. Under this situation, there was a high chance that they would end in a draw or both sides would be heavily injured. Who can you blame? He didn't lose because of the difference in strength, but because of his strategy. The grass hat elder sighed. Hearing this, the head of the Golden Sun family started to think, and his heart became heavier. Indeed, in the end, Zhao Feng's victory wasn't due to overwhelming strength. If he had replicated the complete version of the divine light of destruction, he wouldn't have been able to suppress the three-eyed saint. Zhao Feng's control of the situation was extremely clear. Firstly, he hadn't completely comprehended the divine light of destruction. Only using half of the divine light of destruction was more beneficial to him. After all, although the divine light of destruction was built on the element of wind, it was different from the elements of light and blazing Sunday. Zhao Feng had replicated the principles of the divine light of destruction and applied it to his azure god's spiritual eye. Secondly, the three-eyed saint had prepared 4 or 5 pieces of soul-protecting equipment, so the physical dimension was his weakness. Wah! After a brief moment of silence, the tea party broke into an uproar as the geniuses discussed in low voices. There were too many factors involved in the battle between Zhao Feng and the three-eyed saint. Only a small number of people could sense the head of the Golden Sun family, hiding behind the scenes. After this battle, the topic of Zhao Feng's humble learning became a hot topic. Until now, most people finally understood why Zhao Feng challenged the strongest eye bloodline in the continent. Doesn't that mean that Zhao Feng has learned the secret techniques of the continent's 3 major eye bloodlines? Someone cried out involuntarily. Hearing this, the crowd broke out into chaos. Everyone was shocked. They sucked in a deep breath and looked up at the blue-haired figure in the sky with an inhuman gaze. On a distant mountain, he successfully replicated the 3 major eye bloodline techniques of the continent. Is this the true power of his eye bloodline? The hearts of the head of the Golden Sun family and the Grass Hat Elder shook. Since Zhao Feng could replicate the principles of other people's eye bloodlines, any secret technique in the world could be copied by Zhao Feng, as long as one's cultivation was high enough. This could be expected. After this battle, news of Zhao Feng's humble learning would probably spread across the continent. I've never heard of an eye bloodline like yours. I'm afraid that not many people will be willing to fight you in the future. The skeletal division leader's voice sounded through the dark heart seed. Zhao Feng floated in the clouds and felt uneasy as he faced the shocked, wary, and inhuman gazes. It's my honor to be able to spar with the strongest descendant of the Golden Sun clan at this tea party. Thank you, three-eyed saint, for your teachings. Zhao Feng cupped his fists, a humble expression on his face. He then waved goodbye to the people below. He had reached his goal in the tea party, so there was no point in staying any longer. In this battle, not only had Zhao Feng obtained the title of the continent's strongest eye bloodline, he had also achieved his goal of secretly learning it. Wah! The three-eyed saint, who had just sat down, spat out a mouthful of blood when he heard this. That damned brat! Preposterous! The head of the Golden Sun family, who was on the peak of the mountain far away, flew into a rage and roared. His voice faintly reached the venue of the tea party. The true dragon geniuses present seemed to hear something, and looked in a certain direction with puzzled expressions. Bastard! Do you want to lose face for the Golden Sun family? Black lines appeared on the Grass Hat Elder's forehead as he pressed the head of the Golden Sun family onto the ground. It was fine if the three-eyed saint lost. At most, he would lose the title of the continent's #1 eye bloodline. Although he wasn't #1, he wasn't bad either. However, if the world knew that the Golden Sun family cheated and was defeated by Zhao Feng, what face would they have left? Chapter 519. As the battle for the strongest eye bloodline came to an end, the tea party came to an end. Goddess Bingwei and the three-eyed saint were both heavily injured and suffered great setbacks. On the tea party grounds, the true dragon geniuses and spectators said their goodbyes and left. Amongst them, the first to leave was none other than the king of overwhelming prodigies of the tea party, Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng left in a hurry, as if he had something urgent to do. Before most people knew what was going on, Zhao Feng had already left. What's going on with Zhao Feng? Why did he leave without saying goodbye? Prince Jin and company from the Canopy Great Country were puzzled. Mo Tianyi, Song Yue, Shi Qingtian, and company didn't even have time to greet Zhao Feng before Zhao Feng left. Many true dragon geniuses and people that knew him were waiting for the battle to finish to celebrate with Zhao Feng. However, Zhao Feng didn't give anyone the chance. He turned into a bolt of lightning and merged into the clouds. His speed was so fast that even the overwhelming prodigies couldn't catch up to him. Jiang Sanfeng, did Zhao Feng have something urgent to do? Why did he leave in such a hurry? Mo Tianyi, Shi Qingtian and company asked. Everyone's gazes turned toward Jiang Sanfeng and Dai Yi from the Iron Blood religion with Zhao Feng. Jiang Sanfeng and Dai Yi looked at each other and shook their heads with a bitter smile. Zhao Feng left so suddenly that no one knew where he was going or what his intentions were. Just as the two were puzzled, a voice sounded in their minds. Go back to the Canopy Great Country with Mo Tianyi. I have something to do. At the same time, a similar voice sounded in the minds of Mo Tianyi, Shi Qingtian and company. It's Zhao Feng. Looks like he did have something to do, and left first. Everyone looked at each other in disappointment. Zhao Feng had defeated the 3 overwhelming prodigies in the True Dragon Tea Party, and the Three-Eyed Saint, who was ranked first in the True Dragon Tea Party 2 years ago, cementing his status as the king of overwhelming prodigies. At the same time, the title of the continent's #1 eye bloodline, which had lasted for tens of thousands of years, had changed hands because of him. Zhao Feng's future achievements were immeasurable. As long as he didn't die prematurely, he was destined to be a dominating figure who could decide the fate of the continent. Everyone would want to befriend such a heaven's-chosen king when they were young. On a distant mountain peak, the head of the Golden Sun family and the old man wearing the straw hat had solemn expressions on their faces. Especially the head of the Golden Sun family. He was filled with resentment, and a hint of killing intent could be seen in his eyes. If the two of us work together, we still have a 60 to 70% chance of killing him. The old man in the straw hat glanced at the head of the Golden Sun family. Only 60 or 70%. The head of the Golden Sun family couldn't believe it. With his peak True Lord rank cultivation and his Sacred Eye bloodline, no one below the Origin Core realm was his match. Even though the straw-hatted elder wasn't a martial highness, he was only half a step away from becoming a martial highness 100 years ago. So he was much stronger than ordinary half-step martial highnesses. If the two worked together, they could fight at least 2 or 3 half-step primal core realms. That brat specializes in speed and has learned the secret techniques of the 3 major eye bloodlines of the continent. If we don't kill him, the Golden Sun family will have to bear unimaginable consequences. The grass-hatted elder said. Hearing this, the expression of the head of the Golden Sun family changed. There was a certain amount of risk in killing Zhao Feng, and the consequences were unimaginable. Being an overwhelming prodigy of dozens of generations, Zhao Feng had the potential to reach the peak of this era. Even Sword Saint Yi Wuxia, the three-eyed heavenly lord, and company were weaker than him when they were the same age. First elder, please. The head of the Golden Sun family took a deep breath and hesitated. The consequences of killing Zhao Feng were too terrifying. Of course, the head of the Golden Sun family hadn't received any news of the Iron Blood religion leader's revival. If they knew that there was an Origin Core realm sovereign behind Zhao Feng, they wouldn't dare to do anything even if they were 100 times more courageous. The greater the reward, the greater the risk. It's just whether or not the risk is worth it. What benefit does killing Zhao Feng bring to us? You're the head of the Golden Sun family, so you decide. The grass-hatted elder's smile contained deep meaning. Hearing this, the head of the Golden Sun family seemed to understand something and started to think. Suddenly, a sharp light flashed in his eyes, and a heroic aura rose from his body. You've made your decision? The grass-hatted elder smiled. The head of the Golden Sun family took a deep breath. This Zhao Feng's eye bloodline is heaven-defying, and his potential is immeasurable. He's only 20 years old, and has already gained so much. If we can use the eye-stealing forbidden technique to steal his eye bloodline, the future of the continent might be the Golden Sun family. Courageous. That's what a head of the Golden Sun family should be like. The grass-hatted elder nodded his head. Even the Golden Sun family only has an incomplete theory of the eye-stealing forbidden technique, and the success rate is less than 5%. However, even the smallest chance can change the fate of us, the Golden Sun family, and even the continent. At this moment, the head of the Golden Sun family and the grass-hatted elder had the same thoughts. If one wanted to achieve great things, they needed to be courageous and put their lives on the line. Chase, the head of the Golden Sun family, and the grass-hatted elder turned into a golden and silver blur that shot into the clouds. Sacred Eye Insight. The head of the Golden Sun family opened his third eye, and everything within 100 miles could be seen. Even if Zhao Feng ran 10 times further away, the head of the Golden Sun family would still be able to catch up to him with his Sacred Eye bloodline. It was because of this that the two of them didn't immediately chase after him. He hasn't run far. He's still 100 miles away. The head of the Golden Sun family's Sacred Eye bloodline had already confirmed Zhao Feng's location. Their cultivation was dense, and their speed increased as they chased after Zhao Feng. The distance between the two of them and Zhao Feng was slowly getting closer. Wang Pala, a pair of wings of wind and lightning suddenly extended from Zhao Feng's back, and the wind lightning yuan qi in heaven and earth started to tremble. Zhao Feng's speed instantly rose, and wherever he went, wind howled and wind howled. Not good, he sensed us. This brat's eye bloodline is really terrifying. Don't let him get away. The expressions of the head of the Golden Sun family and the grass-hatted elder changed as they circulated their secret techniques to increase their speed. However, with the help of the wings of wind and lightning, Zhao Feng's flying speed was much faster than theirs. The two tried their best, but not only were they unable to catch up to Zhao Feng, the distance between them was even increasing. There's no need to rush. His flying technique shouldn't be able to last long. We've cultivated for at least 100 years, and our yuan qi is denser than his. The grass-hatted elder smiled calmly. That's right. The head of the Golden Sun family couldn't help but nod his head. In terms of endurance, the two of them were confident that they could beat Zhao Feng. Furthermore, the head of the Golden Sun family's sacred eye bloodline could chase after Zhao Feng. So, on the other side, Zhao Feng's flying speed was extremely fast, and he soon left the two behind him 100 miles behind. At this moment, dozens of miles ahead, there was a deep forest. Skeletal Division Leader. Zhao Feng seemed to run out of energy, so he slowed down and spoke. Are you sure you want to do this? The Skeletal Division Leader went silent. Zhao Feng didn't reply. He landed on the ground and walked into the depths of the forest. Within the forest, two blurry figures appeared on a tree. One was a black-robed female, and the other was a large figure wearing a crown. Especially the figure with the crown on his head. There was a layer of strange and twisted dark light surrounding him at all times. Elder, that brat's heading toward us, the black-robed female said. The Scarlet Moon Division Leader token has sensed something, and is coming closer. The elder of the Scarlet Moon Division Leader looked forward. Ta-ta, ta-ta. The sound of footsteps came from ahead. They were steady and powerful as they got closer. It wasn't hard to see that the owner of the footsteps had a clear goal, and was walking toward them. A strange light appeared in Elder Shadow's eyes, which were silent and dark. Elder, do you want me to take him down? The black-robed lady's entire body rippled with a wave of cold and dark blade energy. The air around her suddenly stagnated, and an invisible chill seeped into every grass and every tree in the surroundings. The Dark Shadow Elder didn't say anything. Ta-ta, ta-ta. The owner of the footsteps appeared in sight. It was a blue-haired youth with a calm expression, as if he was taking a stroll. The killing intent coming from the black-robed female was enough to kill anyone below the Origin Core realm. But it didn't seem to affect him. Brat, you dare to walk into a trap? Why aren't you giving up in front of the Scarlet Moon Elder? The black-robed female left behind a series of ripples. Shwa. The blue-haired youth's eyes blurred as a wisp of cold blade aura wrapped around his neck. Finally, the blue-haired youth's footsteps stopped. If he moved again, the blade aura around his neck would behead him at any time. Zhao Feng's body was covered by the coldness of death, and he couldn't help but sigh. A servant-like existence had strength close to Lu Tiany's back then. Blue-haired brat. Why do you have the aura of the Scarlet Moon Division Leader token on you? Why aren't you kneeling to the Scarlet Moon Elder? The black-robed female was like a ghost as she stood behind Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng's expression didn't change. Even when he heard the words Scarlet Moon Elder, he still restrained the shock in his heart to the limit. Elder Ji Sha, I haven't seen you for hundreds of years. How have you been? Zhao Feng didn't bother with the black-robed woman. Instead, he looked at the shadowy elder, who seemed to have merged with the world. How do you know the elder's name? The black-robed female was shocked. The elder wearing a crown couldn't help but let out a soft cry of surprise. You are? The two were surprised. This strange blue-haired teenager recognized Elder Wang Guan, who was shrouded in a twisted and dark shadow at first glance. Could it be that this youth was also from the Scarlet Moon demonic religion? Or a descendant of the demonic religion? But if he was a descendant of the demonic religion, he shouldn't have seen the Scarlet Moon Elder from hundreds of years ago? Tsk Tisk, Elder Ji Sha, who recruited you into the Scarlet Moon demonic religion and recommended you to the Patriarch. 300 years ago, when you and Protector Iron Bones were being chased by Sword Saint Yi Wuxia, who came to help you?" Zhao Feng licked his lips. Zhao Feng didn't hesitate to say these words in one breath. "Ah!" the black-robed female, who was holding Zhao Feng from behind, exclaimed. From his tone, this blue-haired youth seemed to have a great background and seemed to be very familiar with Elder Ji Sha. He was at least at the same level as the upper echelons of the Scarlet Moon demonic religion. Your division leader Yogu." Elder Ji Sha's body, which was in the distorted shadow, trembled slightly. A hint of joy appeared in his eyes. Chapter 520. In the depths of the forest, Zhao Feng and Elder Destruction looked at each other, and a faint smile appeared on their faces. The crown on Elder Destruction's head made him look like a dark shadow in the night sky. "You really are division leader Yogu, weren't you?" There was a hint of joy on Elder Terminator's face. Zhao Feng chuckled. "Even you managed to survive until now, so how could I have died in that great calamity?" Hearing this, the heart of the black-robed beauty that was holding Zhao Feng shook, and her hands started to tremble as she revealed an uneasy expression. She never would have thought that this youth that wasn't even 20 years old was one of the division leaders of the Scarlet Moon demonic religion. In the Scarlet Moon demonic sect, every hall master was a powerhouse that ruled over an area. At the peak of the demonic religion, a single division could fight against the 10 great sects of the continent. The status of a division leader was on par with an elder of the demonic religion. "Division leader Yogu, how did you become like this?" A trace of puzzlement appeared in Elder Terminator's dark and silent eyes. There was still a trace of cautious doubt in him. "Shua." Zhao Feng waved his hand, and a terrifying human-shaped skeleton appeared with 2 balls of fire in its eye sockets. "My old bones can't take it anymore. It's not a bad choice to possess this peerless prodigy with the highest potential and bloodline, and try to reconstruct his body," Zhao Feng said. The red flames in the skeletal division leader's eye sockets seemed to be dazed, but it didn't say anything. Through the dark heart seed, there was a profound connection between Zhao Feng and the skeletal division leader. It was as if the skeletal division leader's mind was completely on Zhao Feng, and it was controlling this prodigy. So that's how it is. The majority of Elder Destruction's doubt disappeared. With Zhao Feng purposely leaking it, it wasn't hard for Elder Destruction to see the mental energy connection between Zhao Feng and the skeletal division leader. However, Elder Terminator would never have thought that Zhao Feng, this newcomer, was the true controlling side. Even someone as strong as the division leader of the Scarlet Moon division was the one being enslaved. "Hallmaster Yogu, your attainments in the Tao of Psychic Ghosts could be said to be the best in the continent. Why haven't you completely taken over this kid's body?" On the other hand, Elder Terminator sneered. From his point of view, with the skeletal division leader's mastery of the Tao of the soul and mental energy, it shouldn't be too hard for it to take over a junior's body. "Humph. That's easy for you to say. This brat is an overwhelming prodigy of dozens of generations, and swept the sacred True Dragon gathering. Not long ago, his eye bloodline defeated the strongest successor of the Golden Sun family in 1,000 years. Zhao Feng snickered coldly and spoke in the skeletal division leader's tone. Subsequently, from the skeletal division leader's point of view, Zhao Feng told the skeletal division leader everything that had happened in the past year. After Elder Terminator and the black-robed woman heard this, they looked at Zhao Feng in surprise. Only now did the two realize that this blue-haired youth controlled by Hallmaster Yogu had such a strong background. They were especially shocked that Zhao Feng's eye bloodline had defeated the strongest successor of the Golden Sun family in 1,000 years and won the title of the strongest eye bloodline in the continent. This youth's talent and bloodline are so strong. Even the successor of the Golden Sun family was crushed by him. Elder Terminator was slightly envious that the skeletal division leader was able to take over such a body. Being able to do this meant that Zhao Feng's talent and bloodline had definitely surpassed the Scarlet Moon Religion Patriarch and Sword Saint Yi Wuxia. You should be able to sense how strong this brat's mental energy source is. I've only awakened a year or two ago, and am still extremely weak. It's already a miracle that I was able to enslave him. Zhao Feng sighed. Hearing this, Elder Terminator nodded his head and didn't have any more questions. Although Zhao Feng's source of mental energy was hidden, Elder Terminator could still sense a bit of it with his level of cultivation. Shua. Zhao Feng waved his hand and put the skeletal division leader away, then said, My original body is still very weak. I'll take over this brat's body after I recover my strength. Elder Terminator and the black-robed woman didn't suspect anything. At this point in time, their thoughts had completely changed, and they treated Zhao Feng as the skeletal division leader. Division leader, what's the relationship between you and those two people? The black-robed woman asked respectfully. At the same time, she was on guard as she looked at the two figures in the distant sky who were chasing after her. It's that brat who defeated the strongest successor of the Golden Sun family and took the title of the strongest eye bloodline in the continent. Zhao Feng's mouth twitched. After several hundred years, the Golden Sun family is still so shameless. Elder Terminator snickered coldly. Right at this moment, So, the head of the Golden Sun family, and the Grass Hat Elder looked down from above. Be careful of sneak attacks. After all, this brat has mastered one of the 3 major eye bloodlines. The Grass Hat Elder warned. The head of the Golden Sun family didn't dare to be careless, and scanned the area below with his third eye. Soon, the head of the Golden Sun family saw Zhao Feng and a black-robed woman. He was slightly surprised that the black-robed woman had reached the peak True Lord rank. And a measly peak True Lord rank isn't worth worrying about. Under normal situations, I can instantly kill him with my eye bloodline. The head of the Golden Sun family's sacred eye quickly scanned over the forest, but didn't find anything else. The Grass Hat Elder also spread out his spiritual sense and faintly nodded his head. Kill. The head of the Golden Sun family and the Grass Hat Elder turned into 2 streaks of light and charged down toward Zhao Feng and the black-robed woman. How dare you be so rude to the division leader? The black-robed woman shouted coldly. With a swoosh sound, her slender figure turned into a misty ripple-like shadow and greeted the 2 uninvited guests. What a weird movement skill. Zhao Feng's heart moved. In terms of speed, the black-robed woman was on par with him when he didn't use the wings of wind and lightning. On the other hand, the opponent's movement skill was extremely weird. It was as if she had merged into the world of darkness and twisted the light around her. Smoke-killing shadow. Ripples of illusory blades flashed through the air, accompanied by invisible killing intent, shooting towards the head of the Golden Sun family and the old man in the straw hat. Watch out, this woman uses the Tao of shadow killing. The Grass Hat Elder warned. Even though he was stronger than normal half-step origin core realms, he still revealed a cautious expression. Shua. Their surroundings were dark and gloomy. Killing shadows and illusory blades appeared one after another, and a few of them instantly brushed past the 2 of them. Shua. The head of the Golden Sun family's leg was hit by a blade, and he groaned in pain. If his reaction had been slightly slower, it wouldn't have just been a light injury. In a short instant, the head of the Golden Sun family and the Grass Hat Elder were both caught off guard. It wasn't that they weren't as strong as the black-robed woman. It was just that their attention was on Zhao Feng, and they ignored the black-robed woman. 3-eyed divine light, spatial destruction restriction. The head of the Golden Sun family roared as the third eye on his forehead shot out a wave of purple light that twisted the air. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Wherever the divine light passed by, the trees nearby were turned into dust. Bo! The misty blur that the black-robed woman had turned into was restricted by an invisible force. Her figure was instantly exposed, as if she had fallen into a swamp, and her speed decreased. Not good. The 3-eyed divine light of the Golden Sun family. The black-robed woman's expression changed drastically, and a layer of smoke-like ripples rose from her body to resist the penetration and restraint of the spatial annihilation illusion in this area. However, the sacred eye of the Golden Sun family was once the strongest bloodline in the continent. How could it be broken so easily? Shua. The black-robed woman's body was almost frozen, and the misty blur around her started to fade, as if it was being dissolved by some kind of power. What a profound eye bloodline. This person is the head of the Golden Sun family? His usage of the three-eyed divine light has reached a godly level. If I had fought with him before, I wouldn't have been able to tell who would have won. Zhao Feng couldn't help but be moved. In terms of bloodline quality and purity, the head of the Golden Sun family wasn't as good as the three-eyed saint. However, the head of the Golden Sun family's eye bloodline was much stronger than the three-eyed saints. Even normal half-step origin core realms might not be the head of the Golden Sun family's match. The black-robed woman, who specialized in the Tao of assassination, was stronger than Tiamat, but she was completely suppressed at this moment. You're unlucky to meet the sacred eye of the Golden Sun family in the Tao of assassination. The head of the Golden Sun family's third eye released an even stronger eye bloodline power that restricted the black-robed woman and destroyed her defenses. The black-robed woman gritted her teeth unwillingly. Although her Tao was strong, it was easily countered by an eye bloodline, let alone the sacred eye bloodline of the former number 1 family. Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye was surrounded by a ball of lightning as he prepared to save the black-robed woman. Zhao Feng, your opponent is me. A hoarse voice came from above. Zhao Feng suddenly felt a pressure, as if a god of 10 million kilograms had descended from the sky. Silver Saint Demon suppressing technique. A pair of dazzling silver palms slammed down from the sky, drawing in the heaven-earth yuan qi within a radius of 100 miles. It was as if all of nature had become the source of its power. Half-step origin core realm? Or is it a sovereign? Zhao Feng's heart jumped. The air around him seemed to be suppressed by a giant mountain of yuan qi. Normal True Lord ranks would find it hard to even move. On top of that, 2 cold silver crescent moons appeared in the grass hat elder's eyes and clashed with Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye. He also had an eye bloodline. Even Lu Tianyi from the Purple Saint Ruins wasn't this strong. Zhao Feng found it hard to breathe, and his expression was solemn. At this moment, his source of true spirit, God's spiritual eye, and bloodline power were all circulated to the maximum. If he didn't focus 120%, under normal situations, Zhao Feng might not even be able to fight the Grass Hat Elder without using the Ice Imperial Spear. At the same time, save me. The black-robed woman was suppressed by the three-eyed light, and her defense was about to break. No need to panic. They're just 2 bugs. Leave them to me. A mysterious voice seemed to come from the darkness. Shua. A layer of dark light, like a curtain of night falling from the sky, instantly enveloped a radius of half a mile. It quickly spread out, and even engulfed the entire forest. That's the Grass Hat Elder, and the head of the Golden Sun family froze. In the blink of an eye, they were surrounded by an endless darkness and felt as if they had stolen the sun. Unbeknownst to them, a tall figure wearing a crown had appeared above their heads. This shadow-like existence seemed to be the uncrowned king of the night. Sovereign, sovereign. The Grass Hat Elder revealed a look of fear as he felt the terrifying aura of the crowned figure. Shoo, shoo. In the dark world, 2 cold shadow blades extended out without any warning and instantly pierced through their bodies. Blood splattered everywhere. Chapter 521. Under the sunlight. The dark forest seemed to be distorted by some kind of power. It was filled with dark shadows, like the expansion of the dark curtain of night. In the air, the bodies of the head of the Golden Sun family and the Grass Hat Elder were like dead loaches as they struggled. Shoo! In the darkness, 2 cold shadow blades pierced through their bodies without a sound or warning. The head of the Golden Sun family didn't even have the chance to dodge. His heart was pierced through, and his life force was instantly extinguished. The head of the Golden Sun family kept his head up, and could barely see Elder Jisha's figure. Plop! He fell into a puddle of blood, and his eyes were filled with fear, unwillingness, and confusion. Being killed without any warning. How angry was the head of the Golden Sun family? He didn't even know the opponent's name before he died. As for the other old man in the straw hat, his body barely shifted half an inch, but his chest was still pierced by the cold shadow blade, brushing past his heart. A sovereign of the Tao of assassination. Could you be the silent death sovereign from back then? The grass hat elder's face was filled with fear as he coughed and blood leaked out of his mouth. The only thing he could do was raise his head and look at the crowned shadow that had successfully assassinated him. On the other side, Zhao Feng stood still and suppressed the shock in his heart. This is the strength of an Origin Core Realm sovereign? It wasn't that Zhao Feng hadn't seen Origin Core Realm experts before. He had seen the true appearance of sovereigns in the Rising Dragon auction and the Sacred True Dragon gathering. The Iron Blood Religion Patriarch was also an Origin Core Realm sovereign. However, this was the first time he had seen the strength of a sovereign. The head of the Golden Sun family's strength is definitely comparable to a half-step Origin Core Realm. The Grass Hat Elder is even stronger and has an eye bloodline. Under normal circumstances, it would be hard for me to escape from the two of them. Zhao Feng couldn't calm down. He originally thought that his battle power was invincible against those below the Origin Core Realm, and that he should be able to fight back. From the looks of it, his estimation seemed to be a little off. Elder Jisha isn't an ordinary venerable. He cultivates the Shadow Assassination Tao. During the Crimson Moon era, he was responsible for assassinating some of the continent's peak experts, and the number of sovereigns who died at his hands was not small. In one of his most glorious moments, he participated in the assassination of Venerable Swordsman Wuxia, and almost succeeded. The skeletal division leader's voice sounded in his mind. The path of assassination. Zhao Feng was startled. It turned out that this Elder Jisha was not an ordinary primal core cultivator, but a venerate skilled in the assassination Tao. No wonder the head of the Golden Sun family couldn't detect Elder Jisha, even with his sacred eye bloodline. These two people were dealt with as easily as slicing carrots. Elder Jisha, I didn't expect you to have recovered the strength you had back then. You dealt with these two small fries rather quickly. Zhao Feng played it down and did not show any surprise. Two little shrimps. Hearing that, the expression of the black-robed female twitched weirdly. One of the people killed was the head of the strongest family in the continent, and the other one was very likely an elder of the Golden Sun family, whose strength surpassed normal half-step Origin Core realms. Of course, it was easy for Zhao Feng to say that, but if he really had to face these two, he would most likely run faster than a rabbit. Hall Master Yogu, if you recover your peak strength and use your soul energy secret art to control others, you will be on par with me. Elder Jisha wasn't surprised and didn't feel that Zhao Feng's words were arrogant. Division Leader Yogu, you're... The Grass Hat Elder's heart shook as he exclaimed. Helplessness, bitterness, and regret were written all over his face. If the two of them knew that their target was the former division leader of the Scarlet Moon demonic religion, they probably wouldn't dare to do anything even if they were given 100 guts. Plop! The Grass Hat Elder only lasted for a few breaths before dying. Elder Jisha specialized in the Tao of Slaughter. Even if he didn't hit the heart, he could still easily kill a half-step Origin Core realm. In just a few breaths, the head of the Golden Sun family and the Grass Hat Elder fell into a pool of blood. No one saw the process of them being killed, or the trajectory of Elder Jisha's attack. Even Zhao Feng couldn't react in time. Shua! The dark shadow that covered this area suddenly faded away. Only Elder Terminator was left in the twisted shadow. Division Leader Yogu, how did you offend the Golden Sun family? I heard that you're in charge of a region in the northern continent. Elder Jisha landed next to Zhao Feng. Being so close to Elder Jisha made Zhao Feng feel a chill in his heart. His current situation was like walking on a tightrope on a precipice. Although Zhao Feng had already predicted that the one following him was most likely a sovereign, he still didn't know what to do. However, Elder Jisha wasn't a normal Origin Core realm. He specialized in assassination, and Zhao Feng wouldn't be able to fight back at all in front of him. Under this situation, Zhao Feng couldn't panic at all in case he gave himself away. At the same time, he warned the skeletal division leader that if it tried anything, he could kill it with just a thought. The skeletal division leader was very obedient. It knew that Zhao Feng could kill it faster than Elder Jisha could kill Zhao Feng. The situation in the northern continent isn't looking good. Zhao Feng sighed bitterly as he tried to choose the most general or ambiguous words from the skeletal division leader. With me guarding the middle continent, the pressure here is greater. Elder Jisha shook his head faintly. Zhao Feng also understood a bit of the situation from Elder Terminator. So, in the Scarlet Moon demonic religion's plan, the middle continent was the most important. Most of their experts were here. All of this was to deal with a powerful force, the Sacred Alliance. Oh right, there's a division leader in a large country nearby. Do you want to meet him? The Patriarch is also in the middle continent, and will soon come out of seclusion. Elder Jisha's next words made Zhao Feng's heart jump. If he wasn't careful, he would enter the core of the Scarlet Moon demonic religion. When the Scarlet Moon Patriarch was also in the middle continent, and they might meet, Zhao Feng had the urge to run away. Luckily, Zhao Feng's mentality was strong enough, and he couldn't panic or run away. I also want to meet the Patriarch. But there's still some mess in the northern continent that needs to be dealt with quickly, or the consequences will be unimaginable. Furthermore, I need to recover my strength as soon as possible. Zhao Feng was helpless. Elder Jisha tried to get him to stay, but was rejected by Zhao Feng. Oh well, it's not wrong for you to look at the big picture. Elder Jisha didn't force him. After that, the two leaders of the Scarlet Moon demonic sect discussed some secret matters in private before bidding their farewells. In the entire process, Zhao Feng was walking on thin ice. If it wasn't for the fact that he had the Jade Dragon protection, he wouldn't have tried this plan. Half a month later, in Golden Sun Sacred City. An indescribably powerful aura pierced through the clouds and flew above Golden Sun Sacred City. Who's there? The guards on the city tower saw a ball of dazzling light descending from the sky. That magnificent light was like a dazzling flash between heaven and earth, giving off a strong visual impact on one's soul. Is Zhao Feng here? The newcomer was a black-haired youth. His eyes were as deep as the sky. The youth stood with his hands behind his back, and his every action contained an indescribable intent that pierced through the soul. Zhao Feng? Many experts on the city walls, and within Golden Sun Sacred City, were alarmed. The aura of the newcomer was too strong. His strength and confidence seemed to be able to destroy everything. It's him. Yu Tianhao. Someone exclaimed as they recognized the black-haired youth. The Golden Sun Sacred City instantly broke out into chaos. It's him. The invincible overwhelming prodigy king. We just sent away that nightmare half a month ago, and now another one has come. The members of the Golden Sun family all felt a trace of helplessness. Half a month ago, Zhao Feng had swept the tea party, defeated the Three-Eyed Saint, and took the title of the strongest eye bloodline in the continent. This was a heavy blow to the Golden Sun family. And now, an overwhelming prodigy king who was on par with Zhao Feng had come, Yu Tianhao. In terms of fame, Yu Tianhao was even above Zhao Feng before the tea party. This was because Yu Tianhao had come first in the last Sacred True Dragon gathering. Even in the recent Sacred True Dragon gathering, Zhao Feng wasn't able to beat Yu Tianhao. Yu Tianhao, the tea party has ended. An enraged voice came from Golden Sun Sacred City. Shua. A golden-haired young man with a body as sharp as a knife, and a closed eye on his forehead appeared in the sky. The newcomer was the Three-Eyed Saint. Ever since he lost last time, the Three-Eyed Saint hadn't been in a good mood, and no one dared to offend him. At least a dozen people had died from the Three-Eyed Saint's anger. Therefore, when the Three-Eyed Saint appeared, everyone in the Golden Sun Sacred City became silent, afraid that the saint would take his anger out on them if they did anything wrong. The Three-Eyed Saint obviously didn't have a good expression when he saw Yu Tianhao. Originally, his only opponent for the tea party was Yu Tianhao, but Yu Tianhao didn't even come. In the end, the Three-Eyed Saint lost and his father disappeared. The anger in his heart couldn't be vented. You're the Three-Eyed Saint. Yu Tianhao's eyes twinkled. He seemed to know the name of the youth in front of him. The Three-Eyed Saint snorted coldly. Yu Tianhao, the True Dragon tea party is over. Do you think I'm easy to bully now that you've come to Golden Sun Sacred City to challenge me after Zhao Feng? No. Yu Tianhao shook his head and said, Tea party? Not interested. I'm here to find Zhao Feng. He's my only opponent. Hearing that, The three-eyed saint's anger that had just calmed down almost exploded. Preposterous. He was too arrogant. Zhao Feng, one of the two overwhelming prodigies, came to Golden Sun's sacred city with a humble attitude. As for this person, he was simply extremely conceited and arrogant. Does anyone know where Zhao Feng went? Yu Tianhao scanned the crowd. However, no one dared to answer him. They were afraid of being affected by the three-eyed saint's anger. Yu Tianhao didn't stay at all. He turned around and murmured to himself, "Then I'll go to the Canopy Great Country." Chapter 522. Seeing that there was no answer, Yu Tianhao released a mystic light and flew out of the Golden Sun sacred city. He turned around and left. Everyone on the Golden Sun sacred city paused. From Yu Tianhao's actions, it seemed that he wasn't interested in the tea party or the three-eyed saint. You want to leave just like that? A hint of anger appeared in the three-eyed saint's eyes. The feeling of being looked down upon ignited the anger in his heart. So, a cold snicker sounded as a golden light flew out of the Golden Sun sacred city and closed in on Yu Tianhao. "What do you want?" Yu Tianhao stopped in the air and looked coldly at the three-eyed saint. "Yu Tianhao, there's still a battle between us." The three-eyed saint's body was covered in a layer of golden light as his third eye opened. It was like a golden sun that released a blinding light. The golden eye bloodline aura spread through the air and swept toward Zhao Feng's face and soul. Even the other peerless geniuses had struggled to face the aura head-on, worthy of being the champion of the last two sacred true dragon gatherings. Unfortunately, this isn't your era anymore. Furthermore, the Golden Sun family has always been defeated by the Yu family in the past several hundred years. Yu Tianhao was slightly regretful. "Ignorant brat. Back when I swept through the sacred true dragon gatherings, you were still wearing diapers." The three-eyed saint raised his eyebrows and laughed instead of getting angry. Although they had heard of Yu Tianhao's arrogance, they were still shocked. One had to know that the three-eyed saint had become the champion of the last two sacred true dragon gatherings before Yu Tianhao, and could be said to be Yu Tianhao's senior. In terms of experience and cultivation, the three-eyed saint was above Yu Tianhao. "Let's fight." Yu Tianhao was decisive as a powerful battle intent surged from him. It was obvious that Yu Tianhao had heard of the three-eyed saint's name and knew that he did have the qualifications to be his opponent. "I will take back the glory of the Golden Sun family." The three-eyed saint's bloodline was fully activated as his third eye locked onto Yu Tianhao, and a golden eye bloodline power burned through the air. Yu Tianhao's figure sank slightly as the space around him seemed to be restricted. Golden Void Dragon Sun Claw. The three-eyed saint's golden hand reached out, and a giant golden claw that was dozens of yards long shone with a scorching red light. Pa! That astonishing claw faintly shook the air, forming a perfect combination with the Sacred Eye bloodline's lock and lock. Even peak True Lord ranks would be shocked by such an attack, and would find it hard to take it head-on. Yu Tianhao stood where he was without dodging. He didn't care if he was locked on by the Sacred Eye bloodline. "Break!" Without any hesitation, Yu Tianhao simply slashed out with his palm, as if he was looking down on everything. With the naked eye, one could only see an unparalleled and magnificent palm light, like a mysterious aurora that traversed the heavens and the earth. At that moment, it became the center of nature, drawing in the boundless and domineering Yuan Qi power, suppressing all things. If Zhao Feng was here, he would be shocked. The intent of Yu Tianhao's palm strike was similar to the mental state of a martial highness. However, Yu Tianhao's state was expressed through his own will. It was very simple. Crack! A huge explosion came from the clouds. The people of the Golden Sun sacred city felt a strong gust of wind blowing sand in their faces. Plop! 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 Some of the spectators on the city tower were sent flying by the strong shock waves. The scene was chaotic. Some of the true spirit realm experts held their breaths as they observed the battle with shock on their faces. In the sky, the three-eyed saint's golden claw was instantly pierced through and shattered. Wah! The three-eyed saint spat out a mouthful of blood and exclaimed in disbelief. An unparalleled technique? No. It seems to have merged with the intent of an inheritance. Three-eyed saint, if you don't show your true ability, You won't have any chance at all. Yu Tianhao smiled proudly. The three-eyed saint took a deep breath as his expression became solemn. Before the clash, he thought that Yu Tianhao was slightly weaker than Zhao Feng, because Yu Tianhao didn't have such a monstrous eye bloodline. So he had a high chance of winning. However, only after exchanging blows did the three-eyed saint realize how terrifying Yu Tianhao and the Yu family were. No wonder his father's generation was stepped on by the Yu family. Even someone as strong as Zhao Feng couldn't defeat Yu Tianhao in the sacred True Dragon gathering. Three-eyed divine light, golden crow world incineration. The third eye on the three-eyed saint's forehead was like a blazing sun. Boom! A three-legged flaming bird in the shape of a golden crow turned into a blazing sun that pierced through the sky and destroyed everything in its path. A wisp of forbidden flame qi pierced through the air, seeping into the void and burning it. At this moment in time, the three-eyed saint's three-eyed divine light had been pushed to the extreme, and it could split mental energy and the physical world. Ha ha ha, that's more like it. Yu Tianhao let out a long laugh and struck out with his palm again. Unparalleled. A dazzling and mysterious giant palm, surrounded by wisps of cold crystal light, seemed to have swallowed and assimilated a part of the world. Boom! The aurora palm and the vast yuan qi of heaven and earth shone brilliantly. It had a kind of supreme and domineering aura that could sweep through the world. Wherever it passed, everything was crushed and crushed. My God! The experts in the Golden Sun Sacred City held their breaths as their hearts jumped. Everything within several miles seemed to be engulfed by this unparalleled palm. Even the sun and moon seemed to be engulfed by it. The three-eyed saint also felt small under that domineering aura. Even his father, the first elder of the family, couldn't give him such pressure. Although the three-eyed divine light could destroy everything in its path, his attack seemed to have pierced through a boundless mountain and was blocked by a dominating power. What was even more terrifying was that Yu Tianhao's palm contained an indescribably powerful mental energy. The three-eyed divine light's power of splitting and analyzing mental energy couldn't even take a single blow. Boom! The three-eyed saint didn't even last a breath or two in front of the palm before being sent flying. Bam! Tung! So, his body flipped in the air as he spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. His entire body was in pain, and he felt like he was about to collapse. How can this be the power of a true lord rank? Although his cultivation is close to the late-stage true lord rank, his mental energy and mental energy are unparalleled apart from sovereigns. The three-eyed saint was stunned. The difference in cultivation between the two wasn't big, but Yu Tianhao's unparalleled power suppressed his three-eyed divine light mercilessly. He was pushed back several hundred yards. The three-eyed saint barely managed to stabilize his body. His face was pale white, as even his sacred eye bloodline was suppressed by some sort of mental energy. You're not my match, even when you're at your peak. Yu Tianhao took back his hand. It was obvious that he could tell that the three-eyed saint's yuan qi and eye bloodline power had been injured. There were even some hidden injuries that hadn't recovered. After all, Zhao Feng had fought with the three-eyed saint half a month ago, and the latter was heavily injured. Could it be that you've already activated the legendary unparalleled heaven battling bloodline? The three-eyed saint took a deep breath. Unparalleled heaven battling bloodline? I can only activate my unparalleled heaven battling bloodline if I meet an opponent stronger than me. You don't have the right. Yu Tianhao smiled proudly and left with the attitude of a victor. The three-eyed saint's heart shook, and his expression dimmed. All the humiliation, frustration, and anger in his heart disappeared. Yu Tianhao had an overwhelming advantage over him. He didn't have any anger left in him. Unlike Zhao Feng, Yu Tianhao was powerful, domineering, confident, and even conceited. He crushed everything with his first move without any preamble. As for Zhao Feng, even though he had an overwhelming advantage in eye bloodline power, he still had the attitude of humbly learning. In comparison, the three-eyed saint admired Yu Tianhao more. As for that Zhao Feng, what a vile plagiarist. Golden Sun Sacred City. Many experts watched Yu Tianhao's majestic and heroic figure as he floated into the distance, their hearts filled with shock. At this moment, everyone came to a realization. The three-eyed saint's era had indeed passed. This era belonged to two overwhelming prodigies. Yu Tianhao must have gone to challenge Zhao Feng. Two overwhelming prodigies that stood at the peak of dozens of generations. Who is the true king? The figures on the walls of Golden Sun's sacred city were filled with excitement and expectation. Jinyang Xingtian, I didn't expect your Azure Flower continent to have such a terrifying genius. Even some of the peak true dragon geniuses of the Three Saints Palace are only at his level. A thick-eyebrowed youth appeared next to the three-eyed saint. The three-eyed saint didn't reply, which meant that he agreed. If we can recommend these two geniuses to the Three Saints Palace, it'll be a great contribution. The thick-eyebrowed youth continued with excitement. Recommend them to the Three Saints Palace? No, definitely not. The three-eyed saint exclaimed. Jinyang Xingtian, this is a great opportunity. If there are rewards from the sect, you and I might be able to have new breakthroughs and opportunities. The thick-eyebrowed youth was slightly unhappy. Firstly, there's no way that Yu Tianhao will join the Three Saints Palace. The Yu family has a huge background in the outside world, and they've never sent any of their prodigies to the Three Saints Palace. If I'm not wrong, this Yu Tianhao is in a rush to challenge Zhao Feng, because he's going to leave the Azure Flower continent and head to a mysterious force that might surpass the Three Saints Palace. The three-eyed saint explained. So that's how it is. The thick-eyebrowed youth wasn't surprised. After all, the outside world was too big, and the Azure Flower continent was just a sesame seed. But this Zhao Feng definitely doesn't have this fortune. The thick-eyebrowed youth smiled. You can't do this. If that filthy thief joins the Three Saints Palace, I won't have the face to stand in the clan. The three-eyed saint almost cursed out loud. If Zhao Feng joined the Three Saints Palace, his sacred eye bloodline wouldn't even be worth mentioning. Everything would fall to Zhao Feng's halo. Several months later, Canopy Great Country, Iron Blood Religion Headquarters. Whoosh! A gust of wind and an arc of lightning flashed across the sky and landed in the headquarters. I'm back. A blue-haired youth let out a long breath. It was Zhao Feng. Thinking back to how he had talked to an elder of the Scarlet Moon demonic religion at such a close distance, he still felt fear. Luckily, he had confirmed that he wasn't being followed on the way back. Now that he had returned, he could relax. After all, there were sovereigns here. Chapter 523. Zhao Feng had returned earlier than Prince Jin and the other geniuses from the great country. At this moment in time, Jiang Sanfeng and Dai Yi hadn't returned yet. Just as Zhao Feng landed, Deputy Patriarch Tiemo rushed over. How was the tea party? Tiemo asked. Tiemo had introduced the Golden Sun family's sacred eye bloodline to Zhao Feng in order to deal with the three-eyed saint. Not bad. A smile appeared on Zhao Feng's face as he told Tiemo what had happened. Hearing this, Tiemo was overjoyed. I didn't think that the title of the strongest eye bloodline would change because of you. Zhao Feng suddenly remembered that the head of the Golden Sun family had been killed by Elder Silence Kill and tried to kill him. Should he tell Tiemo about this? Right as Zhao Feng was hesitating, a voice sounded in their ears. Zhao Feng Tiemo. Patriarch Hong. Zhao Feng's heart shook. He had almost forgotten about the true powerhouse of the Iron Blood religion this time. A while later, Zhao Feng and Tiemo met Patriarch Hong in the underground palace. Patriarch Hong sat on the bed with a red glow on his face. His aura was limitless. Every breath he took seemed to be the center of the heaven-earth Yuan Qi, and his aura was countless times stronger than that of the true Lord rank. Zhao Feng, I didn't think that you would defeat the three-eyed saint and obtain the title of the strongest eye bloodline on the continent. Patriarch Hong had a satisfied expression. The Patriarch and Deputy Patriarch were full of praises for Zhao Feng. It could be said that the youth standing in front of them was the prodigy with the strongest bloodline on the continent. Even the 10 great sects of the continent would devote all of their resources to nurture such a genius. Patriarch Hong, do you have any other orders? Zhao Feng inspected Patriarch Hong and found that his injuries had healed. His Yuan Qi should have mostly recovered. Once this sovereign appeared, there wouldn't be a second voice in the Canopy Great Country. I've recovered most of my strength, and I'll go to the Sacred Alliance in a few months. Have you thought about what happened last time? Patriarch Hong laughed. What happened last time? Zhao Feng paused, but he soon remembered. Zhao Feng, joining the Three Saints Palace will be of great help to you and the Iron Blood religion. You must understand that the ruler of this region, including the Azure Flower Continent and the nearby islands, is the Three Saints Temple. Tiamo warned. Hearing this, Zhao Feng began to hesitate and struggle. Patriarch Hong and Tiamo looked at each other. Zhao Feng, do you have something you can't say? Zhao Feng asked. Zhao Feng didn't hide anything and told him about Lu Qinxin. Hearing Zhao Feng's explanation, Patriarch Hong and Tiamo were stunned. In theory, Lu Qinxin was Zhao Feng's fiancé. He wanted to enter the outside world in the future, to find the Sky Saint Qin inheritance. This explanation made sense. This Zhao Feng is very emotional. Patriarch Hong and Tiamo looked at each other and sighed. In reality, there was another reason why Zhao Feng couldn't decide whether or not to join the Three Saints Palace, and that was because of Zhao Yufei and the Purple Saint Ruins. Moreover, after the 6 Warlock Divine Sages' guidance, Zhao Feng developed some interest in the legendary 8 Great God Eyes. All of this meant that Zhao Feng couldn't stay in any sect, and would be subjected to many restrictions. Zhao Feng, we won't interfere with your decision. However, you need to be strong enough before entering the outside world. You need to reach the half-step origin core realm before you can leave. Patriarch Hong said. Thank you, Patriarch. Zhao Feng was filled with gratitude and quickly thanked him. Patriarch Hong and Tiamo didn't want Zhao Feng to go to the outside world. On the contrary, staying in a 2-star sect was more suitable for his growth. However, they all respected Zhao Feng's decision. An overwhelming prodigy that had surpassed dozens of generations might walk a different path. Next, Patriarch Hong taught Zhao Feng some general knowledge about the outside world. In theory, those at the True Lord rank can cross the limitless ocean and walk in the outside world. This is the lowest requirement. Patriarch Hong paused. True Lord rank? Zhao Feng's heart moved. In the entire Canopy Great Country, only a few people had reached the True Lord rank. Normal strong countries only had 1 or 2. This also meant that the horizons of the vast majority of living beings were limited. Furthermore, the True Lord rank was the lowest requirement. It's dangerous for normal True Lord ranks to walk in the outside world. The danger will decrease after reaching the half-step origin core realm. As for sovereigns who have reached the primal core realm, there are relatively few in the outer realms. They are considered experts, so you can go to the outer realms without worry. Patriarch Hong explained. In reality, the sovereigns of the continent often went to other islands. However, those at the True Lord rank wouldn't easily go unless they had a sovereign. For example, Patriarch Hong would often go to the islands around the Azure Flower Continent when he was at his peak. 3 days later, Patriarch Hong came out of seclusion and shocked the world with his cultivation at the Origin Core realm. Half a month later, this news shook the entire Canopy Great Country. The upper echelon of every force was stunned. On a certain day, Patriarch Hong personally came to the Imperials to visit the Emperor, Empress Qin, and the Grand Elder of the Imperials. The Imperials were silent. No one objected. From today onwards, Patriarch Hong is the imperial teacher of our country. The Iron Blood religion is the #1 religion. Going against the Iron Blood religion is the same as going against the Imperials. The Emperor helplessly made this decision. Once a sovereign appeared, the Imperial 3 sects and 4 families of the Canopy Great Country didn't say anything else. Without a doubt, the Iron Blood religion had become the #1 force in the Great Country. Even before Patriarch Hong came out of seclusion, Zhao Feng and Tiamo, the 2 deputy patriarchs, were enough to suppress the Imperials. Now that they had a sovereign, the Iron Blood religion wasn't far from becoming a 1-star sect. They were only lacking in one other aspect. To all of this, Zhao Feng didn't care. 10 days ago, he had left the main headquarters of the Iron Blood religion and found a secret place to cultivate. Half a month after Patriarch Hong came out of seclusion, a bright light descended from the sky and flew towards the main headquarters of the Iron Blood religion. The undefeatable aura caused the headquarters of the Iron Blood religion to panic. Even Deputy Sect Master Tiamat felt quite a bit of pressure. Who's there? The experts of the Iron Blood religion reacted and formed a line as they coldly looked at the black-haired youth in the sky. Yu Tianhao, Jiang Samfeng exclaimed. A few people recognized the newcomer. The black-haired youth was Yu Tianhao, who had rushed over from Golden Sun's sacred city. Is Zhao Feng here? Yu Tianhao's expression was emotionless as his eyes scanned across. Everyone's heart seemed to be struck and couldn't face it. Even someone as strong as blood-hair-colored Tiamat couldn't block the powerful intent in Yu Tianhao's eyes. This Yu Tianhao is much stronger than I expected. Tiamat was secretly surprised. Yu Tianhao, you've come at the wrong time. Deputy Patriarch Zhao left 10 days ago and apparently found a quiet place to cultivate. Jiang Samfeng braced himself. When will he come back? Yu Tianhao decided to wait for a while in the Iron Blood religion. If he missed this chance, he probably wouldn't have another chance to fight with Zhao Feng in the future. Yu Tianhao? You're Yu Xingchen's son? An old smiling voice sounded in Yu Tianhao's mind. Sovereign. Yu Tianhao's expression became solemn as he thought for a while and said, Junior Tianhao greets Senior Hong. In the Azure Flower continent, there were only a few sovereigns at the Origin Core realm, and they all knew each other. The Iron Blood religion had sovereigns, so Yu Tianhao calmed himself down and waited quietly. Underground Palace. Brother Hong, this Yu Tianhao doesn't seem to have good intentions. In the entire continent, only he can shake Zhao Feng's position. This is probably the fight for the #1 genius of the continent. Tiamat said worriedly. Patriarch Hong's expression was solemn as he nodded his head. Yu Tianhao's father is extremely strong amongst the sovereigns, and even the Three Saints Palace is wary of the Yu family's background. Brother Hong, who do you think will win between Yu Tianhao and Zhao Feng? Tiamat asked out of concern. If Yu Tianhao doesn't activate his unparalleled heaven-battling bloodline, he only has a 40% chance of winning against Zhao Feng. After all, Zhao Feng's soul, cultivation, and eye bloodline are all extremely strong. However, if Yu Tianhao activates the legendary unparalleled heaven-battling bloodline, his chance of winning will be 50 to 60%. Patriarch Hong said. Being a sovereign at the Origin Core realm, Patriarch Hong's senses were extremely strong. If this wasn't the case, he wouldn't have given Zhao Feng the Ball of Ice Soul and the Dark Eye incomplete page. In the blink of an eye, another dozen or so days passed. Patriarch Hong, how have you been? An old Taoist in a white robe with a sage-like demeanor floated over. The moment he descended, all the primal qi in the world strangely froze. Then, like a gentle breeze in spring water, it flowed towards the white-robed old Taoist. Only existences at the true mystic rank and above could sense a bit of these changes. Iron Blood religion headquarters in a certain guest room. Sovereign, another one has appeared. Yu Tianhao's expression changed. Ha ha ha. Dao Sovereign Baiyan? It's been several hundred years, and you have the time to come visit me? A red-haired elder with thick eyebrows flashed out and greeted the white-robed Taoist. It was Patriarch Hong. This Dao Sovereign Baiyan had once appeared at the sacred True Dragon gathering. Dao Sovereign Baiyan, Grand Elder of the Heavenly Yuan clan. A small number of people within the Iron Blood religion, such as Tiamat, recognized Dao Sovereign Baiyan. Soon, Dao Sovereign Baiyan and Patriarch Hong sat down in a side hall with Deputy Patriarch Tiamat next to them. Dao Sovereign Baiyan, you didn't just come to the Iron Blood religion, right? Patriarch Hong's eyes flashed. The two were both primal core venerates. In the past, they only knew each other but were not close. I came this time to see Zhao Feng. Dao Sovereign Baiyan said straightforwardly. See Zhao Feng? Patriarch Hong and the Deputy Patriarch looked at each other and thought. Why is there another one? Yu Tianhao hadn't left the Iron Blood religion yet? Now another venerable one had arrived. Tiamat thought for a while and knew why Dao Sovereign Baiyan had come. As expected, back at the sacred True Dragon gathering, Zhao Feng and my disciple Zhao Yufei entered an unknown inheritance. Dao Sovereign Baiyan soon said his intentions. All of this was within reason. Dao Sovereign Baiyan wanted to personally ask Zhao Feng about Zhao Yufei's whereabouts. Zhao Feng has returned safely, but there's no news of my disciple. Although Tiani told me some things, I'm still suspicious. Dao's Sovereign Baiyun's voice became colder as his powerful spiritual sense spread across the headquarters of the Iron Blood religion. Chapter 524. In just a few breaths, the headquarters of the Iron Blood religion was scanned by Dao's Sovereign Baiyun's spiritual sense. Within the headquarters, the members of the Iron Blood religion all felt an obscure yet enormous mental energy. They felt as if they were being suppressed by a vast ocean, and that their bodies and minds were being penetrated. That invisible spiritual pressure made one feel flustered and suffocated, making it difficult to breathe. This was because Dao's Sovereign Baiyun was trying his best to find Zhao Feng's location. If he used his full strength, some of the weaker true spirit realms would probably spit out blood on the spot. Senior Dao Sovereign, Zhao Feng really isn't in the headquarters. He went out to cultivate a few days ago, and no one knows where he went. Tiemo sighed and shook his head. He could still remember the scene of the little thieving cat on Zhao Feng's shoulder, throwing the old bronze coins into the air. However, Dao's Sovereign Baiyun obviously didn't believe it. Otherwise, he wouldn't have spread his spiritual sense across the entire headquarters. Behind Dao's Sovereign Baiyun is the Heavenly Yuan clan, one of the 10 great clans. Patriarch Hong's heart jumped, and he broke out in cold sweat for Zhao Feng. Dao's Sovereign Baiyun had a high status and prestige among the sovereigns of the continent. He was also very experienced. Even Patriarch Hong might not be Dao's Sovereign Baiyun's match at his peak. Furthermore, Patriarch Hong hadn't fully recovered yet. Putting aside the number of sovereigns, the Heavenly Yuan clan was one of the 10 great clans, and had reached the threshold of a 1-star clan. Their foundation far surpassed the Iron Blood religion. That brat really isn't here? Dao's Sovereign Baiyun took back his spiritual sense, and apologized to Patriarch Hong. He had controlled himself in the search just then, and didn't release his sovereign aura, because he was wary of Patriarch Hong. In the search, Dao's Sovereign Baiyun also found the overwhelming prodigy Yu Tianhao. Tianhao, you're also here? Dao's Sovereign Baiyun's voice was friendly, and he had a faint smile on his face. Shua. Yu Tianhao stepped into the side hall. His speed had surpassed normal half-step origin core realms. Hehe, so you're also here to find Zhao Feng? After asking, Dao Master Baiyun was shocked when he got the answer. That's right, but I can't wait too long. Yu Tianhao answered. Dao Master Baiyun couldn't help but think. Yu Tianhao's father, Yu Xingqian, is one of the strongest venerables on the continent. Moreover, the Yu family's background was not simple at all. With Yu Tianhao's talent, it would be extremely easy for him to enter the Three Saints' Palace. He could have done it 10 years ago. However, Yu Tianhao had yet to join the Three Saints' Temple. In the blink of an eye, several months had passed. Canopy Great Country, transverse water bay in the depths of a rapidly flowing river stood several precipitous cliffs. The surroundings were verdant, but the air was steaming with water vapor, obstructing one's vision for several li. At the top of the cliff, in the center of the misty area, a blue-haired youth sat cross-legged. Buzz buzz, from time to time, deep blue electric arcs would appear in the surrounding mist. An invisible cold wind would linger in the surroundings like a sharp blade. The blue-haired youth didn't move at all. His body was surrounded by a layer of wind and lightning light patterns, which were deep green and translucent. Bang! Upon closer inspection, there were traces of faint purple aura within the dark green wind lightning, which took up about 1/10 of the original green wind lightning. As the faint purple aura moved, it gave off an aura of destruction. This aura of destruction caused the insects and beasts within several li to instinctively become uneasy. Just like before a great disaster, some insects and beasts would instinctively feel danger. As time passed, the wisps of purple aura seemed to have merged with the dark green wind and lightning. Wang! A ball of lightning appeared in the blue-haired youth's palm, and a faint purple light could be seen at the center of it. In that instant, the aura of the original azure ball of wind lightning more than doubled. Although it seemed silent, it became deeper and a whirlpool appeared in the air. That destructive and tyrannical aura suddenly spread out, and everything within a 10-mile radius became deathly silent. Meow meow. A silver-gray cat appeared on the youth's shoulder, as if it had been disturbed. The intent of this purple wind lightning is indeed strong. One portion of this purple wind lightning is comparable to more than 10 portions of the original azure wind lightning. Excitement flashed in Zhao Feng's eyes. After leaving the Purple Saint ruins, Zhao Feng's comprehension of the wind lightning tablet had increased. According to logic, normally, one needed to be at the half-step origin core realm in order to comprehend and cultivate the purple wind lightning. However, Zhao Feng's source of mental energy was strong, and his comprehension was extraordinary. He had already tried to comprehend the purple wind lightning before he reached the true lord rank. Now, Zhao Feng's soul was comparable to the origin core realm, and his mental energy level wasn't much different from the half-step origin core realm. Over the past several months, his comprehension of the purple wind lightning had increased greatly. Wang, the ball of lightning in Zhao Feng's palm was faintly purple, and the outside was turning azure. The degree of fusion between the two was increasing. With the purple wind lightning as the core, the power of the azure wind lightning has more than doubled. A smile appeared on Zhao Feng's face. He was very satisfied. One had to know that Zhao Feng didn't even use the purple wind lightning when fighting the three-eyed saint. He only used it when dodging the forbidden eye bloodline technique. In comparison, the purple wind lightning that Zhao Feng had comprehended was more than twice as strong as before. More importantly, after comprehending the purple wind lightning and merging it into his wind lightning energy core, his control over it became stronger. Shua! Zhao Feng waved his hand, and the ball of lightning disappeared along with the purple aura. I've been cultivating for more than 2 months. I wonder what the situation is like in the Canopy Great Country after Patriarch Hong comes out. Zhao Feng finally remembered his position as the deputy patriarch. Meow meow. The little thieving cat stood on his shoulder and tossed a few copper coins into the air, causing them to jingle as it shook its head. You mean I should continue cultivating? Zhao Feng paused. To a certain extent, he had the little thieving cat to guide him when he went into seclusion. Zhao Feng believed most of the little thieving cat's ability to avoid danger. He thought that cultivating in seclusion in the Iron Blood religion might not be as effective as cultivating here, due to the many things he had to do. Therefore, Zhao Feng listened to the little thieving cat's divination. With a sovereign like Patriarch Hong here, I don't need to worry about the Iron Blood religion. Zhao Feng closed his eyes again. For the next few days, he started to comprehend the Wind Lightning Inheritance's combat skills. 10 days later, Zhao Feng had reached a bottleneck in his comprehension of the Wind Lightning Inheritance. Meow meow. The little thieving cat threw the bronze coins and shook its head. Fine. He decided to go in a different direction and merged his consciousness into the Ice Imperial Spear. This time, he focused on his bloodline power and comprehension of the Ice Imperial Spear's profundities. 1 month later, Zhao Feng let out a long breath and came out of his comprehension. This time, when he came out of seclusion and opened his eyes, they flickered with divine light. He was filled with unprecedented confidence. This was the first time Zhao Feng had been in seclusion for 3 to 4 months. I've never been in seclusion for so long. Zhao Feng couldn't help but sigh. It took him less than half a year to go from the 2nd rank to the 7th rank of the martial path. Meow meow. The little thieving cat threw the bronze coins and still didn't want Zhao Feng to return to the Iron Blood religion headquarters so quickly. I've reached a bottleneck in every aspect. There's no point in going into seclusion. Zhao Feng shook his head. 3 to 4 months was the longest he had ever been in seclusion. Furthermore, his comprehension of the Wind Lightning Stone Tablet, the Ice Imperial Spear, and his eye bloodline were all at a bottleneck. He wouldn't be able to break through in a short amount of time. Let's go. Zhao Feng's body was enveloped in a layer of lightning, and he disappeared in a few streaks of azure and purple. Several days later, the headquarters of the Iron Blood religion, a streak of azure and violet light flashed through the clouds, exuding a terrifying destructive aura, and landed in front of a large hall. However, as soon as he landed, Zhao Feng felt that something was wrong. His heart suddenly jumped, and he felt a strong sense of uneasiness. Zhao Feng, If you didn't come back, I was going to leave. A battle-intent-filled voice sounded from the top of a hall. Zhao Feng glanced over and saw a black-haired youth sitting cross-legged in a large hall 100 yards away. Yu Tianhao? Zhao Feng was stunned. Why would Yu Tianhao appear here? Just as he was hesitating, the heaven-earth yuan qi in this area surged like a giant wave in the deep sea, surging with an invisible power that covered the sky and earth. Zhao Feng, I've been waiting for you for several months. A deep and cold voice came from a building in front of them. Shua. A white-robed Taoist appeared on top of the building in front of Zhao Feng. Sovereign origin core realm. Zhao Feng's heart shook and his body froze. Every breath he took was harder than usual. May I ask, Senior? Zhao Feng felt that this white-robed Taoist was familiar. I'm Zhao Yufei's master, the Grand Elder of the Heavenly Essence sect. Dao Sovereign Baiyun snorted. Yufei's master? Dao Sovereign Baiyun? Zhao Feng's body shook, and he realized the purpose of this primal core realm supremacy. However, before Zhao Feng could speak, there was another ice-cold power that could freeze the world. It was comparable to Dao Sovereign Baiyun's. Hiss! Zhao Feng shivered and felt like his blood was being frozen. Another primal core realm supremacy. Who is it? Zhao Feng felt that the aura in the cold power was also familiar. She looked up and was startled by what she saw. In the clouds, there was a white-robed beauty holding an ice scepter and wearing an ice crown. She looked like an ice queen descending from the sky. Ice Queen. Zhao Feng took in a cold breath as he recognized the newcomer's identity. This white-robed beauty, wearing the Phoenix King ice crown, was the leader of the extreme North Mystic Ice Palace. She had appeared at the Northern Star Tower and the Sacred Alliance. Zhao Feng was puzzled when he saw the Mystic Ice Queen. Zhao Feng could guess why Dao Sovereign Baiyun had come all this way to find him. However, the only connection he had with the Ice Queen was her disciple, Goddess Bingwei. However, the enmity between Zhao Feng and Goddess Bingwei was between the younger generation, and it wasn't anything big. Logically speaking, this wasn't enough for the Ice Queen, a sovereign at the origin core realm, to come personally. So, a male and female appeared beside the Ice Queen. One was a golden-haired youth, and the other was an icy beauty. Three-eyed saint. Goddess Bingwei. Zhao Feng's pupils contracted. He had a guess when he saw the three-eyed saint. Zhao Feng, does my father's death have anything to do with you? The three-eyed saint's voice was cold and forceful. Chapter 525. At this moment in time, Zhao Feng could be said to be facing enemies from all sides. None of the figures floating or sitting around him were easy to deal with. Above him was the Mystic Ice Queen, an origin core realm sovereign. To her left and right were the three-eyed saint and goddess Bingwei. Opposite him was the Grand Elder of the Heavenly Yuan clan, Dao Sovereign Baiyun. Behind him was Yu Tianhao, who was sitting cross-legged in the hall, waiting for the battle. Any one of these people could dominate the cloud area. Dao Sovereign Baiyun and the Mystic Ice Queen stood at the peak of the continent. Zhao Feng, what kind of people did you offend? Patriarch Hong and Tianma broke out in cold sweat for Zhao Feng, and their eyes were filled with worry. This sudden series of changes caused Zhao Feng to freeze. Zhao Feng, is my father's death related to you? The three-eyed saint's question was very sudden. The three-eyed saint's voice was filled with hatred and killing intent. The golden sun in his third eye was burning with rage. Zhao Feng couldn't help but be surprised. From the three-eyed saint's tone, it seemed like he had some sort of proof. Otherwise, he wouldn't have questioned Zhao Feng right away. Three-eyed saint, don't slander me. You need to prove it. Jiang Samfeng shouted coldly from the Iron Blood religion. Tianma smiled faintly. Three-eyed saint, the Canopy Great Country still hasn't received any news of your father's death. How can it be related to Zhao Feng? Hearing this, the other figures of the Iron Blood religion all agreed. Many people were baffled by this. The Golden Sun family was located in the Middle Continent, and the head of the family was an expert of the older generation. On the other hand, Zhao Feng was only a youth in his 20s. There was no enmity between the two of them. In fact, they had never even met before. They were completely unrelated. Proof? There were many witnesses near Golden Sun's sacred city, who saw my father and the Grand Elder leave with Xiao Feng. After that, father and the Great Elder never came back. The three-eyed saint's three eyes locked onto Xiao Feng and didn't move away for even a second. Three-eyed saint, how did you confirm father's death? Cult leader Hong questioned. Everyone's eyes lit up. This was a crucial point. At that time my eye bloodline had a bad feeling. According to the records of the Golden Sun family, only those who are related to me by blood and have the sacred eye bloodline will be able to sense this. The three-eyed saint's tone became sorrowful. There was a moment of silence. With Dao Sovereign Baiyun and Patriarch Hong's experience, they could naturally tell what the three-eyed saint's bloodline was. The Golden Sun family was one of the most powerful families with inherited bloodlines in the Tianwu continent. Their bloodline system was extremely mature, and this feeling wasn't the first or second time in history. Xiao Feng did not doubt this at all. His god's spiritual eye had all sorts of magical sensing abilities, especially the sense of danger. Furthermore, the head of the Golden Sun family and the three-eyed saint were father and son, and they both had the sacred eye bloodline. However, at that time, I lost to Xiao Feng and was heavily injured, so I didn't have time to investigate this feeling. However, in the following month, father disappeared. After searching everywhere, I finally found a wisp of my father's bloodline aura in a forest. Only the Golden Sun family can sense this aura. The three-eyed saint took a deep breath. His eyes were bloodshot as he coldly stared at Xiao Feng. It was as if he was certain that Xiao Feng was the culprit, or at the very least, that Xiao Feng was responsible. Everyone looked at each other in disbelief. Firstly, Xiao Feng wasn't present at that time, and he left without saying goodbye to his companions. Goddess Bing Wei's eyes flashed coldly as she scanned over Jiang Sanfeng and Dai Yi. Jiang Sanfeng and Dai Yi's hearts trembled. Indeed, Xiao Feng's sudden departure was very strange. Secondly, there were witnesses who saw the head of the Golden Sun family chase after Xiao Feng. Goddess Bing Wei raised her hand. Shua shua. 3 figures jumped out from the corner, 2 males and 1 female. One of them was at the true mystic rank, while the other 2 were at the true human rank. That's right. We saw the head of the family, and an elder wearing a straw hat follow Xiao Feng. The 3 all thought it was Xiao Feng. Instantly, Xiao Feng, who stood in the middle, faced some questioning gazes. All the signs and evidence pointed to Xiao Feng being the cause of the head of the Golden Sun family's death. Xiao Feng, even if you deny it, why did you leave the group? What did you do alone? What happened after the head of the Golden Sun family and the 2 seniors chased after you? Goddess Bing Wei asked a series of questions in an aggressive manner. Xiao Feng remained expressionless and didn't speak. Dao Sovereign Baiyun, you and I can both be witnesses. This Xiao Feng is too suspicious. If the Iron Blood religion doesn't give us a reasonable explanation, we can take him down together and interrogate him. The Mystic Ice Queen floated above his head and smiled at Dao Sovereign Baiyun. Patriarch Hong and Tiama's hearts jumped as they knew things weren't good. This Mystic Ice Queen was very powerful. She was a sovereign and might not be able to force Xiao Feng to do anything. But now she was giving Dao Sovereign Baiyun an olive branch. If the 2 teamed up and wanted to force Xiao Feng, even Patriarch Hong wouldn't be able to stop them. Patriarch Hong, should you give us an explanation for the death of the head of the Golden Sun family and the whereabouts of my disciple? Dao Sovereign Baiyun didn't immediately say anything and glanced at Patriarch Hong. Xiao Feng's heart jumped. This Dao Sovereign Baiyun wasn't easy to deal with either. Although he didn't immediately team up with the Mystic Ice Queen, he was obviously using the situation to pressure the Iron Blood religion. At this moment, facing the pressure of the 2 sovereigns, Patriarch Hong and Tiama felt bitter and felt pressured. The Iron Blood religion had just revived and was now facing such danger. One had to know. The Mystic Ice Palace and the Heavenly Yuan sect were both among the top 10 sects of the continent. Xiao Feng, I believe you're not the murderer and this has nothing to do with you. If they purposely make things difficult for us, the Iron Blood religion won't bow down to anyone. Patriarch Hong looked at Xiao Feng. Apparently, not only the other 2 sovereigns, but Patriarch Hong also wanted Xiao Feng to give an explanation. That's right. We believe you're not the murderer. The Iron Blood religion was united. Everyone believed in Zhao Feng, the deputy patriarch who had created a legend. These voices made Zhao Feng feel warm. However, he laughed. Everyone, I haven't denied it yet. How can you be sure that I'm not the murderer, and that this has nothing to do with me? Hearing this, everyone went silent. The members of the Iron Blood religion, Patriarch Hong, Tianma and Jiang Sanfeng were dazed. Zhao Feng didn't deny it. There's no need to defend me. The death of the head of the Golden Sun family does have something to do with me. Uncharacteristically, Zhao Feng laughed. He admitted it. He actually admitted it. Everyone's mouths were wide open. The Mystic Ice Queen, the three-eyed saint and goddess Bingwei were dazed. Their aggressive questioning was all to force Zhao Feng's mind and find more flaws, so that they could find the truth. But in the end, Zhao Feng admitted it without hesitation. Zhao Feng, what are you? Tianma panicked. Could it be that Zhao Feng was afraid of implicating the Iron Blood religion? What's going on? Patriarch Hong's expression changed. He suddenly felt like he couldn't see through Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng, how did my father die? Who's the murderer? Who's the accomplice? The three-eyed saint's eyes turned red as he roared. At this moment, everyone's gazes landed on Zhao Feng. Accomplice? Zhao Feng snickered. I alone am enough to kill your father and the Golden Sun family. Why would I need an accomplice? What? Everyone's hearts shook as they looked at Zhao Feng in disbelief. Impossible. The Mystic Ice Queen smiled coldly and shook her head. Absolutely impossible. With my father's strength, even normal half-step Origin Core realms might not be his match. First Elder is unrivaled under the Origin Core realm. The three-eyed saint shook his head. The peak experts present all knew how strong the head of the Golden Sun family and the grass-hatted elder were. Even the three-eyed saint didn't believe that Zhao Feng had killed the head of the Golden Sun family and the old man himself. They guessed that this matter might be related to Zhao Feng, but there must be someone else behind it. Zhao Feng, what reason do you have to kill the head of the Golden Sun family? Patriarch Hong sighed in his heart. Zhao Feng, even if you're the culprit, the Mystic Ice Queen won't be able to do anything to you without solid evidence. It's simple. The head of the Golden Sun family and the old man wanted to kill me, but I killed them instead. They can only blame themselves for not being skilled enough. Zhao Feng said. So that's how it is. So you killed them in self-defense. Blood-haired Tianmo yelled in realization. Killing in self-defense. The hearts of everyone in the Iron Blood religion shook. The expressions of the Mystic Ice Queen and company changed. If that was really the case, then it was completely reasonable for Zhao Feng to kill them in self-defense. If he didn't kill them, he would be killed. On the other hand, the Golden Sun family didn't have much of an excuse. After all, they were the ones who killed them first. Zhao Feng, why would my father kill you for no reason? The three-eyed saint was enraged. Ehe, do you even need to think about it? Zhao Feng smiled and revealed a knowing expression. The people present couldn't help but fall into deep thought and came to a sudden realization. Zhao Feng had defeated the three-eyed saint in the Golden Sun Sacred City and obtained the title of the continent's #1 eye bloodline. This was the truth. Therefore, it was normal for the Jinyang family to act out of jealousy and hatred under the humiliation. That's right. Zhao Feng has no reason to kill the head of the Golden Sun family. On the contrary, the Golden Sun family wants Zhao Feng to die. Cult leader Hong threw his head back and laughed, his voice causing the void to tremble slightly. You're slandering me. What proof do you have? The three-eyed saint almost spat out blood. If Zhao Feng really did kill them in self-defense, then the Golden Sun family wouldn't be able to defend themselves. On top of that, the situation would also become a personal grudge between Zhao Feng and the three-eyed saint. If that was the case, no matter if it was the Mystic Ice Queen or Dao Sovereign Bai Yin, none of them could stand on the basis of justice and take revenge for him. At the very least, Dao Sovereign Bai Yin wouldn't stand on their side. Proof. Didn't the three witnesses personally see the head of the Golden Sun family chase me? Zhao Feng pointed at the three witnesses that the three-eyed saint had brought with him with mockery. Arg! The faces of the three witnesses instantly turned gray. Just then, They had testified that the head of the Golden Sun family, and Dao sovereign Baiyun, had chased after Zhao Feng. And, three-eyed saint, if you want to take revenge for your father, you can challenge me now. Chapter 526. And, three-eyed saint, if you want to take revenge for your father, you can challenge me now. Zhao Feng teased. What he meant was that he was the one who killed your father. If you have the ability, come and kill me. You dash. The three-eyed saint trembled in anger, and his third eye twitched. He almost exploded on the spot. Don't be rash. Goddess Bingwei gritted her teeth and pulled the three-eyed saint back. In reality, her hatred for Zhao Feng wasn't any less than the three-eyed saint's. However, she knew that the three-eyed saint wasn't Zhao Feng's match. Even if the two of them teamed up, they might not have a chance of winning. What big words! The Mystic Ice Queen snickered coldly in the air, as her mental energy aura of the Origin Core realm pressed down. In that instant, the upper echelon of the Iron Blood religion felt their blood freeze, and they lost the ability to breathe. Zhao Feng's blue hair blew in the wind. He raised his head, and looked coldly at the Mystic Ice Queen. After 3 to 4 months of seclusion, Zhao Feng's strength had increased by leaps and bounds. Although he wasn't a match for an Origin Core realm, he wasn't completely helpless. Facing the Origin Core realm's mental energy pressure, Zhao Feng didn't move, and wasn't affected much. When did this brat's soul become so strong? Daoist Bai Yin was secretly surprised. The Mystic Ice Queen obviously realized this as well. Zhao Feng's soul power was unbelievably strong, and didn't fear the Origin Core realm's mental energy pressure. The soul was the power of the soul. This power was the source of all consciousness, and was extremely hard to raise. Normally, the higher one's mental energy level was, the faster one's soul power would increase. At the same time, the stronger one's soul power was, the stronger one's mental energy level would be. Therefore, the power of the soul wasn't the same as the mental energy level. On the other hand, Zhao Feng was only at the True Lord rank, but his soul power was comparable to a Origin Core realm. Zhao Feng didn't have such a terrifying soul power at the Sacred True Dragon gathering. Xian Ice Queen's heart moved. After coming out of that mysterious unknown inheritance, Zhao Feng's soul strength and cultivation had reached a height that ordinary geniuses wouldn't be able to reach in 100 years. Thinking of this, the Mystic Ice Queen's eyes were filled with a hint of heat. In fact, one of the reasons she came to the Iron Blood religion was to stand up for the three-eyed saint and her disciple. What truly tempted her was the unknown inheritance. Whoosh! Suddenly, a scarlet-red figure radiating the aura of an Origin Core sovereign appeared between the Mystic Ice Queen and Zhao Feng. It was Cult Master Hong. Black Ice Queen. Cult Master Hong said indifferently, "You're a venerable of the older generation. Are you going to interfere in the feud between Zhao Feng and the three-eyed saint?" Zhao Feng only killed the head of the Golden Sun family in self-defense. Since when did the Mystic Ice Palace become unable to differentiate between good and evil? This Patriarch Hong has indeed recovered his strength. Xian Ice Queen's expression changed slightly. Even without that bullshit morality, Patriarch Hong would protect Zhao Feng at all costs. There weren't many geniuses like Zhao Feng in the entire continent. If it was the Heavenly Yuan sect, or the Mystic Ice Palace, they would do the same. I just feel that there's something fishy. Does that Zhao Feng really have the ability to kill the head of the Golden Sun family, and the three-eyed saint? Furthermore, Sheng is Bing Wei's fiancé. Why can't I stand up for him? The Mystic Ice Queen's eyes twinkled as a faint smile appeared on her face. Goddess Bing Wei's fiancé? Some of the people present could not help but be startled. Although Goddess Bing Wei's excuse was reasonable, it was a bit forced. After all, the head of the Golden Sun family had killed Zhao Feng first. Queen, are you doubting my abilities? If you don't believe me, you can send 2 half-step Origin Core realms from the Mystic Ice Palace, and let me try killing them. Zhao Feng licked his lips as if he wanted to give it a try. Hearing this, the crowd broke into an uproar. Zhao Feng's arrogant tone could be said to be disrespectful and provocative towards sovereigns. Most people were shocked and doubtful. With the strength that Zhao Feng had displayed, they believed that it was possible for him to beat a normal half-step origin core realm. However, if he killed 2 half-step origin core realms, that would be shocking. Where does this brat get his confidence from? Can he really kill 2 half-step origin core realms? Zhao Feng's confidence made those on the Mystic Ice Queen's side speechless. If you don't believe me, you can try. Zhao Feng wasn't afraid of challenges and tests. However, even forces like the Mystic Ice Palace and Heavenly Yuan sect weren't willing to play around with the lives of 2 half-step origin core realms. Alright everyone, Zhao Feng is indeed the killer of the Golden Sun family's head. But this is a personal grudge between him and the Golden Sun family. If anyone tries to interfere, I won't stand by. Patriarch Hong's voice sounded. The Mystic Ice Queen's expression flickered. But she soon thought of a plan and looked at Dao Sovereign Baiyun. Dao Sovereign Baiyun, you and I both need to interrogate Zhao Feng. Since we have the same goal, why don't we team up and force Patriarch Hong to capture Zhao Feng? The two looked at each other and started to communicate through spiritual sense. Dao Sovereign Baiyun looked deeply at the Mystic Ice Queen, but he didn't reply immediately. Now that the truth had been revealed, the Mystic Ice Queen still wanted to question Zhao Feng. Her intentions could be seen. Even some venerables would be interested in the mysterious and powerful, unknown inheritance. It was obvious that the Mystic Ice Queen had ulterior motives. Patriarch Hong and the Mystic Ice Queen looked at each other and communicated through spiritual sense. This didn't escape Patriarch Hong, Tianma and company. This Mystic Ice Queen doesn't come with good intentions. Patriarch Hong's heart jumped. A few breaths later, Dao Sovereign Baiyun and the Mystic Ice Queen looked at each other, and their figures flickered. Shua. The two sovereigns attacked Zhao Feng and Patriarch Hong. Dao Sovereign Baiyun. What is the meaning of this? Patriarch Hong's expression changed. Dao Sovereign Baiyun's eyes were calm as he smiled. I just want to know about Yufei's situation from Zhao Feng. I have no ill intentions. The Mystic Ice Queen's mouth turned cold. She was helping Dao Sovereign Baiyun unconditionally. How could he reject her? One was the Iron Blood sect that had just started to rise. The other was the Mystic Ice Palace. Dao Sovereign Baiyun obviously didn't want to offend the latter. Furthermore, the Mystic Ice Queen and Dao Sovereign Baiyun both wanted to interrogate Zhao Feng. This situation made the higher-ups of the Iron Blood sect feel like they were facing a great enemy. Patriarch Hong and the Deputy Patriarch of the Iron Blood sect were anxious. Facing two sovereigns at the same time was probably beyond the Iron Blood sect's limit. But Zhao Feng, the person in question, was not the slightest bit panicked. At this moment, an indifferent and powerful voice sounded. No one can interfere with the battle between me and Zhao Feng. The voice came from a cold, black-haired youth in the hall. Yu Tianhao. Everyone was dazed. Unknowingly, they had almost forgotten about this person, who was on the same level as Zhao Feng. Shua. Yu Tianhao stepped forward and arrived next to Zhao Feng. Yu Tianhao, what are you? Zhao Feng didn't understand. This was his personal matter. Why should Yu Tianhao interfere? Before the battle, I won't allow you to be hurt. Whoever wants to be enemies with Zhao Feng will have to go through me first. Yu Tianhao and Zhao Feng stood side by side. Facing the two sovereigns, Yu Tianhao wasn't scared at all. There was excitement in his eyes, and the blood in his body seemed to be burning, releasing a powerful battle intent. That formless battle intent gave rise to a spiritual will that looked down on everything, surpassing the shackles of cultivation. At that moment, the minds of the two venerable ones were slightly shaken. Putting aside his cultivation base and conception, Yu Tianhao's willpower, which was formed by his fighting spirit, could even reach the supremacy realm. So terrifying. Could this be the legendary unparalleled heaven-battling bloodline of the Yu family? Wariness appeared in the eyes of the two sovereigns. The unparalleled heaven-battling bloodline within Yu Tianhao's body was definitely a forbidden legend. The mental energy contained within it even shocked sovereigns. More importantly, the two sovereigns were wary of Yu Tianhao's father, Yu Xingqian, and the Yu family's background. Yu Tianhao, I don't mind if you interfere, but this is my personal business. But this is my personal matter. How can I let you take the lead alone? Zhao Feng's voice was filled with confidence as he slowly stepped forward. In that instant, the god's spiritual eye opened, and waves of blue-eye bloodline aura spread across the mental energy dimension. A powerful surge of soul power surged from Zhao Feng's body and connected with the god's spiritual eye. How is this possible? Such powerful eye bloodline power. The three-eyed saint's sacred eye trembled in fear, and he felt like he couldn't breathe. Even the hearts of the two martial highnesses skipped a beat, leaving them in a daze. Zhao Feng's eye bloodline power had reached the level where he could try to break through to the origin core realm. When had such a monstrous genius ever appeared in the Azure Flower continent? At this moment, Yu Tianhao's mental energy intent and Zhao Feng's terrifying eye bloodline power formed a force that shocked even sovereigns. These two auras had both reached the level where they could break through to the origin core realm. Pung! Pung! Everyone below the primal core realm felt their souls shake. This was insane. The two most dazzling heavens chosen kings of the current era would actually join forces and fight side by side. Their opponent wasn't a true lord rank or a half-step origin core realm, but a sovereign who stood at the peak of the continent. Your suggestion isn't bad. My bloodline seems to be burning. Excitement appeared on Yu Tianhao's face. No matter how arrogant he was, he knew that his chances of winning against a sovereign were slim. However, if he teamed up with Zhao Feng, anything was possible. Instantly, the situation changed. Yu Tianhao, who was originally challenging Zhao Feng, suddenly teamed up with his opponent. The two stood back to back with Patriarch Hong. Patriarch Hong faced the Mystic Ice Queen, while Zhao Feng and Yu Tianhao faced Dao Sovereign Baiyun. Maybe they really can do it. Cult leader Hong felt an indomitable will to press forward and look down on everything from the two heavens chosen ones. The combined confidence and aura of the two overwhelming prodigies seemed to be able to suppress even sovereigns. The three sovereigns felt like they had aged when facing the two overwhelming prodigies. This kind of hot-blooded fighting spirit was something they couldn't have. It was because of this. Zhao Feng and Yu Tianhao were the two overwhelming prodigies, but the sovereigns could only look up to them when they were young. Chapter 527. In the air, Dao Sovereign Baiyun and the Mystic Ice Queen were dazed. No one doubted that the two overwhelming prodigies could create a miracle if they teamed up. The mental energy that had merged into one, and was not afraid of any challenge, even caused the hearts of the three martial highnesses to tremble slightly. The two overwhelming prodigies teaming up might actually be able to challenge a sovereign. The blood-haired Tianma had a misconception. Even though logic told him that the chance of winning against a sovereign was small, Patriarch Hong's eyes twinkled. Patriarch Hong's eyes twinkled, and his heart was filled with hot-bloodedness. He seemed to find the shadow of himself in Zhao Feng and Yu Tianhao. However, even when he was younger, he didn't have the courage of Zhao Feng and Yu Tianhao. Challenging a sovereign. At first, cult leader Hong was also startled by the behavior of the two men. These two people were too daring. But then, Zhao Feng and Yu Tianhao's battle intent had reached a level where they could fight against sovereigns, which shocked him. Being a sovereign, Patriarch Hong knew the difference between the true lord rank and the origin core realm. This could be seen from how Elder Silence Kill had killed the head of the Golden Sun family and First Elder, as easily as cutting vegetables. However, Zhao Feng and Yu Tianhao were the overwhelming prodigies of dozens of eras, and were the embodiment of miracles. Although logic didn't think it was possible, Patriarch Hong had a sense of expectation and confidence in the two. The two of you need to think this through. Cult leader Hong spoke slowly with a profound meaning in his words. Zhao Feng and Yu Tianhao's determination was firm, and they weren't moved. However, Dao Sovereign Baiyun and the Mystic Ice Queen's expressions changed. So, Patriarch Hong's words were directed at the two sovereigns. The expressions of the two sovereigns became solemn, and didn't dare to underestimate Zhao Feng and Yu Tianhao. Just like Patriarch Hong, they didn't believe that the two overwhelming prodigies could fight against a sovereign. However, the mental energy intent and eye bloodline power of the two overwhelming prodigies swept across the hearts of the sovereigns. The hearts of the two sovereigns couldn't help but waver. Maybe they really could do it. Standing in front of them were the prodigies of dozens of eras. They themselves were miracles. Even someone as powerful as a venerable one dared not doubt the unseen power of this era. Zhao Feng, I've long heard that you and Yufei are childhood sweethearts. Is there a need for us to fight to the point where we can't get along? Dao Master Baiyun let out a bitter sigh. The aura of the martial highness realm that was emitted from his body instantly dissipated. The people of the Iron Blood religion let out a breath, but at the same time, they were confused. Cult leader Hong and Tianma looked at each other. The corners of their mouths curled into a smile. At this moment, even someone as powerful as the Venerable One made a small concession. Daoist Baiyin actually backed down. The Mystic Ice Queen gritted her teeth. However, in the face of the two heavens chosen ones of the present age, who were teaming up side by side, that kind of fighting spirit that could destroy everything, made her want to retreat. First, on the spiritual level, the aura of the two kings of the prodigies seemed to be able to suppress the Venerable One. Secondly, no one wanted to be enemies with two king of prodigies at the same time. You should know, Zhao Feng and Yu Tianhao's achievements had surpassed the Scarlet Moon Religion Patriarch and Sword Saint Yi Wuxia when they were young. If there were no accidents, they would be the future kings of the continent. If they won, as the old sovereigns that stood at the peak of the continent, their faces weren't bright. Furthermore, they might become enemies with the two king of prodigies. If they lost, or if they fought to a draw, this was the situation that the two sovereigns didn't dare to face. Furthermore, they felt that it was possible. In other words, no matter if they won or lost, it would only be bad for the two sovereigns. Under such circumstances, it was no wonder that Dao Master Baiyun would give up at the last minute. Senior Baiyun, if you're sincere about Yufei and the unknown inheritance, we can talk about it in private. Zhao Feng slowly retracted his eye bloodline power and became more polite. Before this, the reason why he didn't talk to Dao Master Baiyun was mainly because of the latter's arrogance. Dao Master Baiyun came to the Iron Blood religion with an overbearing and condescending aura. Facing that questioning attitude, Zhao Feng wouldn't give him the cold shoulder. However, at this moment, Dao Master Baiyun's heart was shaken by the fighting spirit of the two heavens favorites. He was finally willing to put down his venerable attitude and sincerely talk to them. Sure, I also want to meet the person that Yufei admires. Dao Master Baiyun smiled and nodded his head. Seeing Zhao Feng and Dao Master Baiyun reach an agreement, the expression of the Mystic Ice Queen changed. From the situation, it seemed that Zhao Feng and Dao Master Baiyun wanted to talk privately and exclude the Mystic Ice Queen. Dao Master Baiyun, do you really believe this brat's words? In front of great benefits, even brothers and sisters will harm themselves. That Zhao Feng came out of the unknown inheritance, but your disciple didn't. Who can be sure that it wasn't him? The Mystic Ice Queen suddenly laughed. What do you mean? Dao Master Baiyun's expression became solemn, and he was slightly unhappy. I'm just worried that you'll be tricked by this brat's words. I believe that even Patriarch Hong will be interested in the unknown inheritance. There's some secret that you can't let us know. The Mystic Ice Queen's tone was slightly harsh. The reason why she teamed up with Dao Master Baiyun was for the unknown inheritance. Now that she was being excluded, she was obviously angry. Hearing this, Dao Master Baiyun couldn't help but hesitate. He didn't want to offend the Mystic Ice Queen and make enemies with the Mystic Ice Palace. Furthermore, he felt that the Mystic Ice Queen's words weren't completely unreasonable. I only want to talk to Senior Baiyun in private. If Senior has any doubts, I'll only say 5 words and it might prove everything. Zhao Feng didn't back down. What 5 words? The gazes of the 3 sovereigns and the other experts all landed on Zhao Feng. 10,000 ancient races, Zhao Feng said word by word. Wait, I believe you. Dao Master Baiyun's expression changed, and he interrupted Zhao Feng's words. 10,000 ancient races. Just as Zhao Feng said the 4th word, he was interrupted by Dao Master Baiyun. The other 2 sovereigns and the other experts couldn't help but think, but they didn't really understand. Let's talk in private. Tao Master Baiyun looked deeply at Zhao Feng. The secret of Zhao Yufei's bloodline, coming from the 10,000 ancient races, was only known by Tao Master Baiyun and another sovereign. Even Zhao Yufei herself didn't know this secret. This had always been Tao Master Baiyun's secret. This secret, he didn't dare say it because the bloodline inheritance of the 10,000 ancient races was too shocking. Even the Heavenly Yuan sect of the 10 great clans might not be able to handle the consequences. Shua. Zhao Feng and Tao Master Baiyun flashed into a hall within the Iron Blood religion. This Zhao Feng is indeed interesting. I'm looking forward to fighting alongside him. Yu Tianhao watched as the two of them left. He took out a special token with a mysterious ripple. He glanced at it and sighed. Unfortunately, I don't have much time left. Let's go. Mystic Ice Queen gritted her teeth. She was filled with hatred. However, she knew that Zhao Feng had already gained Tao Master Baiyun's trust. It would be hard for her to get a share of the unknown inheritance. Take care. Cult leader Hong said in a neutral tone. Tianma couldn't help letting out a long sigh of relief. This crisis had finally been resolved. One of the two sovereigns was appeased by Zhao Feng, while the other left in anger. Yu Tianhao, thank you for your help. Blood-haired Tianma smiled. He knew that the reason why Tao Master Baiyun gave in was because of Yu Tianhao's powerful background. I'm not helping the Iron Blood religion, I'm just helping Zhao Feng. Yu Tianhao didn't hold back at all. The crimson-haired Tianma was speechless and immediately felt somewhat awkward. Haha. Patriarch Hong and company couldn't help but laugh. This Yu Tianhao really didn't give them any face. At this moment in time, Zhao Feng and Tao Master Baiyun were discussing in the hall, while the outer disciples were waiting. Cult Master Hong, Tianmo, Yu Tianhao, and the others, including the Black Ice Queen, were all very interested and curious about the unknown inheritance and Zhao Yufei's whereabouts. However, Zhao Feng was only willing to discuss this secret with Tao Master Baiyun in private. The hall was filled with a heavy aura. You're saying that because Yufei has the bloodline of the 10,000 ancient races, she was chosen to be the inheritor of the ruins? Tao Master Baiyun was worried. Zhao Feng didn't go into too much detail about the Purple Saint ruins, but he gave a simple summary of the situation. Before leaving the ruins, Yufei had told Zhao Feng to tell Tao Master Baiyun about her safety. When he knew that the 3 two-star sects had their eyes on the ruins, Tao Master Baiyun's hair stood on end. I didn't think Yufei's situation would be so dangerous. Tao Master Baiyun felt uneasy. I hope Senior can keep this information a secret. Don't tell anyone else. Otherwise, not to mention the Heavenly Branch sect, the entire Azure Flower domain might face a calamity. Zhao Feng emphasized. Tao Master Baiyun's heart jumped. This secret was the same as Zhao Yufei's 10,000 ancient races bloodline. It couldn't be easily revealed. If Tao Master Baiyun didn't want to bring trouble to the Heavenly Yuan sect, he would keep his mouth shut. Of course, there was also a big secret that Zhao Feng didn't say. That was the Purple Saint token. With the Purple Saint token, Zhao Feng could contact the Purple Saint ruins and even open another inheritance path to return to the Purple Saint ruins. A while later, the two walked out of the hall. Zhao Feng's expression was calm. On the other hand, Tao Master Baiyun's emotions were unstable, as if he was surprised. Patriarch Hong, Tianma and company clicked their tongues. They were naturally interested, but they didn't ask. On the same day, Tao Master Baiyun didn't leave immediately. Instead, he took the initiative to talk to Patriarch Hong about the alliance between the Heavenly Yuan sect and the Iron Blood religion. Patriarch Hong was extremely surprised. The Heavenly Yuan sect, one of the top 10 great sects, had taken the initiative to form an alliance with the Iron Blood religion. At the same time, a battle between the top prodigies of the continent had begun. A few hundred miles away in the clouds. Zhao Feng, time is running out. I'll leave the Azure Flower continent after this battle. I believe you won't disappoint me. Chapter 528. The headquarters of the Iron Blood religion. Near a mountain a few hundred miles away. Is it about to start? Jiang Sanfeng, Dai Yi, and company looked expectantly at the two figures on the mountain. Near the mountain, There were also the upper echelon of the Iron Blood religion, including the deputy patriarch, protectors, elders, and chapter leaders. Everyone's attention was completely focused. Their faces were filled with anticipation and faint excitement as they watched the battle that was about to begin above the clouds. Shwa! Shwa! Two powerful auras appeared at the foot of the mountain, and the heaven-earth yuan qi in the area started to revolve around them. Patriarch! Senior Bai Yin! The spectators of the Iron Blood religion felt their hearts sink as they felt an irresistible force. The two people were Patriarch Hong and Dao Sovereign Bai Yin. The hearts of Jiang Samfeng and company jumped. They didn't think that even sovereigns would come to watch the battle between the younger generation of prodigies. At this moment, the battle on the cloud was about to start. The first to attack was Yu Tianhao, and he used his signature move. Unparalleled in the world. A powerful mental energy intent appeared from Yu Tianhao's body. Boom! With the naked eye, one could only see an unparalleled and magnificent palm light, like a mysterious aurora that traversed the heavens and the earth. Wherever the palm passed, it seemed to become the center of nature, drawing in the boundless and domineering power of Yuan Qi, suppressing all things. That palm's intent realm was similar to that of a venerable realm cultivator's, due to his strong willpower. The hearts of the spectators below trembled as if they couldn't breathe, and their faces turned red. As expected of Yu Tianhao, with this intent and cultivation, it's not impossible for him to reach the sovereign realm in 10 years. Patriarch Hong and Dao Sovereign Bai Yun's eyes lit up. As for Zhao Feng, who was facing this palm head-on, his body felt minuscule, like a mantis trying to stop a chariot, resisting the might of nature. Of course, this was an illusion brought about by the intent realm. The power of Zhao Feng's soul surpassed Yu Tianhao's, so he wouldn't feel any pressure. Eye of ice soul shooting line. Zhao Feng's left eye switched, and a translucent ray of light shot out from it. The dark blue ray of light emitted a bone-chilling coldness that struck one's soul, and struck Yu Tianhao before he could react, and it pierced through space to strike Yu Tianhao. Boom! Yu Tianhao's body froze as he was struck by the dark blue beam of light. A terrifying icy power seeped into his mind from his physical body. His entire body froze, his attacks slowed, and he was basically interrupted. Break! Yu Tianhao's invisible mental will was like an indestructible blade. It was several times more condensed and tyrannical than a normal sword intent. It shattered the endless corrosive coldness. Yu Tianhao easily shattered the ice soul ray, which carried a chilling mental attack. Meanwhile, Claw of Wind and Thunder. As Zhao Feng waved his hand, a glistening and translucent giant claw that was surrounded by arcs of lightning and had a faint trace of purple light faintly suffused within it. The claw covered an area of a few hundred feet and just happened to block Yu Tianhao's tyrannical attack. Shu Shu, Feng Ying's giant claw, which was surrounded by lightning, collided with the palm power that was as beautiful as an aurora, creating a terrifying explosion. The layers of clouds were shattered, emitting a destructive aura. Under the powerful shockwave, Zhao Feng's blue hair and clothes blew in the wind as he was forced back several steps. Unparalleled in the sacred True Dragon gathering had been broken by Zhao Feng in such a way. Many of the spectators below were dumbfounded by what they saw. Zhao Feng's control of the situation is unparalleled. Deputy Patriarch Tianma sighed. Yu Tianhao's attack was unstoppable for those below the Origin Core realm. Only a small number of half-step Origin Core realms could block it head-on and not be injured. However, Zhao Feng wouldn't allow Yu Tianhao to attack first, and used the Ice Soul shooting line to weaken the opponent's attack. At this point in time, Yu Tianhao was barely able to dissolve the effects of the Ice Soul shooting line. Shwa! Before he could even attack, a layer of ripples of wind and lightning arose in the surroundings, and then layer upon layer of chains of wind and lightning suddenly formed and restrained Yu Tianhao. So fast. Only then did everyone see a blue-haired youth surrounded by wind and lightning appear next to Yu Tianhao. He quickly released a range of wind and lightning chains to restrain his opponent. Yu Tianhao's expression changed dramatically as the numbing sensation from the lightning and the wind pressure made him fall into a disadvantageous situation. Unparalleled secret technique, chaotic dance of spring and autumn. His body erupted with a dazzling light as his intent swelled. He was like a god of war as he punched out with his palms and fists. Enormous fists and palms flew through the air like glittering crystal mountains, crushing down on Zhao Feng in every direction. At that moment, Yu Tianhao's every palm and punch contained a powerful mental energy intent that attacked the opponent's cultivation and soul. Even though Zhao Feng's soul was strong, his state of mind was still being attacked. If it was a normal peak True Lord rank, their state of mind would collapse after 1 or 2 rounds of attacks. That was because Yu Tianhao's will was able to drive an extremely strong intent realm, which was similar to the realm of supremacies. Crack! Crack! The chains of wind and lightning around Zhao Feng were shattered by the fists and palms. Wang! Zhao Feng's expression changed as a ball of lightning appeared in his palm. In the middle of it was a whirlpool, and there was a purple dot of light that gave off a terrifying aura. Wind lightning tornado. As the ball of lightning twisted and spun, it suddenly expanded and expanded. Its center was like a bottomless abyss, and it was driven by a vortex-shaped purple dot of light. A huge lightning storm appeared around it, and its diameter grew larger and larger. In an instant, it reached a radius of 1,000 feet. Boom! The enormous lightning tornado, which emitted a trace of astonishing destructive aura, engulfed Yu Tianhao in the range of his unparalleled chaotic dance of spring and autumn. In just a few breaths, the sky above the mountain seemed to shatter and lightning flashed. Boom! Occasionally, a wisp of lightning would land and leave a crater dozens of yards wide. Everyone watch out! The upper echelon of the Iron Blood religion panicked as they tried to deal with the unpredictable shockwave. The battle between the two overwhelming prodigies had created a storm of aura that would kill anyone at the true spirit realm. Unparalleled secret technique, chaotic dance of spring and autumn. Yu Tianhao was like a god of war, and although his attacks didn't seem to have any technique, they were able to seal everything nearby. Zhao Feng's wind lightning tornado was soon broken. I can't let him get close. Zhao Feng's heart shook. At this moment in time, Yu Tianhao was like a god that could kill anything in front of him. In terms of close combat, he indeed didn't have any advantage. Shua! Zhao Feng turned into a blur of lightning and used his speed to increase the distance between him and Yu Tianhao by 1 to 200 yards. However, Yu Tianhao wasn't a normal person either. He crossed half a mile in a single step and closed in. Unparalleled, Yu Tianhao's body surged with a powerful will that could sweep through the world. Boom! A dazzling and mysterious giant palm of aurora, surrounded by traces of ice-cold crystal brilliance, resonated with the mighty yuan qi of the world. Wherever it passed, all things were crushed, and it seemed to have swallowed and assimilated an area of the world. At that instant, everything within a few miles seemed to be engulfed by this unparalleled palm. The sun and moon in the sky seemed to be swallowed, and everything lost its color. The expressions of the two sovereigns below changed slightly. The hairs of the spectators stood on end, and they felt as if they were facing a demonic god. The same palm appeared once more after Golden Sun's sacred city, and its power had increased by more than 50%. What a powerful palm! Zhao Feng's heart shook, and his intent was impacted like never before. He couldn't help but take a deep breath. Suddenly, a faint purple light core the size of a thumb appeared in his palm. It was surrounded by layers of lightning balls, and its color became darker and darker. Finally, it fused with the faint purple light core in the middle. That's... The hearts of the two sovereigns below jumped as they felt a destructive aura. The faint purple core was the purple power of wind lightning that Zhao Feng had cultivated. It was surrounded by pure azure wind lightning. When that aura spread out, all living beings within a radius of 5 kilometers felt as if they were facing a natural disaster and were suffocating. Not a sound could be heard. Purple destruction, wind lightning break. The faint purple core in Zhao Feng's palm twisted into a whirlpool and merged with the azure wind lightning around it. It turned into a beam of azure and purple light that brought with it a forbidden aura. Boom, boom, boom. The sky was filled with two powerful forces that swallowed and destroyed each other. The spectators below were shocked and speechless. At this moment, They couldn't see the figures fighting above. They could only see the cold crystal light, and the azure and purple light entangling with each other in a lightning storm. A few breaths later, as the purplish-green light shattered, wisps of destructive aura spread out. Pucci, Yu Tianhao's body shook, and blood was left on his shoulder as he groaned. At the same time, the outline of the giant palm didn't dissipate. It passed through the wind-lightning tornado and exploded in front of Zhao Feng. Bam! The domineering power sent Zhao Feng flying dozens of yards, and blood leaked out of his mouth. D. A layer of mysterious blue water appeared on Zhao Feng's body, and under this nourishment, the light injury was healed in just 2 breaths. Below the mountain, the spectators held their breaths, as if they hadn't recovered from the shock. Zhao Feng's wind lightning seems to contain a wisp of destruction that's close to the origin. Patriarch Hong and Dao Sovereign Baiyun looked at each other in surprise. The wisp of destruction power was still in its infancy, but it had already shocked the 2 sovereigns. If it was several times stronger, the consequences would be unimaginable. Yu Tianhao's palm just now can severely injure a half-step origin core realm. Luckily, Zhao Feng has comprehended a wisp of destruction wind lightning. The blood-haired Tianma let out a breath. In the current situation, Zhao Feng had the upper hand. This was mainly because Zhao Feng's bloodline recovery speed was too strong. Normal injuries could be healed in an instant. This meant that Zhao Feng wouldn't lose in a battle against someone at the same cultivation level. Wind lightning eye flame. Zhao Feng didn't wait for Yu Tianhao to attack. His left eye turned azure, and azure flames of wind and lightning flashed within it. There was even a faint purple flame at the center of it. Whoosh! A translucent beam of wind lightning flame, with a faint purple flame heart beating within, twisted into a ball of wind that emitted a destructive and tyrannical aura. It whistled through the air as it struck Yu Tianhao. Yu Tianhao harumphed as he fell into danger. The wind lightning eye flame contained a wisp of the purple destruction flame that was part of the purple wind lightning. It destroyed one's life force and caused injuries that were hard to recover from. The power of the wind lightning eye flame also spread to one's soul. Chapter 529. With his control of the situation, Zhao Feng quickly pushed Yu Tianhao into a dangerous situation. This was something that hadn't happened in the past 2 sacred true dragon gatherings. However, being the current overwhelming prodigies, their existence was a miracle. The deputy patriarch has the upper hand. The crowd below held their breaths as excitement flashed through their eyes. The power of the purple destruction wind lightning is indeed strong. Zhao Feng floated in the air as his blue robe flapped in the wind. After 3 to 4 months of seclusion, his comprehension of the purple destruction wind lightning destruction had increased by leaps and bounds. The purple destruction, wind lightning destruction, and the wind lightning eye flame both contained the power of purple wind lightning and used it as the core. The final power had toppled the world's understanding. With Zhao Feng's early-stage true lord rank cultivation, any one of these 2 moves could heavily injure, or even kill a half-step origin core realm. On the other side, boom! In just a breath's time, Yu Tianhao's injuries became bigger. The attack of the wind lightning eye flame had pierced through both the mental energy and physical dimensions. Because it had merged the power of the purple destruction wind lightning, its destructive power was shocking. Both Yu Tianhao's soul and body had been injured. This was only because he had incredible mental energy intent. If it was someone else at the same level as him, their soul would have been heavily injured by Zhao Feng already. If this continues, Yu Tianhao will most likely lose. Zhao Feng's improvement is shocking. The eyes of the 2 sovereigns lit up. The advantage Zhao Feng had now wasn't just his own strength, but his control over the situation, etc. Zhao Feng, you didn't disappoint me. The black-haired youth in the wind lightning eye flame's bloodline started to burn. Woo! With the naked eye, one could only see a layer of ancient and mysterious cold and faint shadow, in the shape of a human figure, overlapping with Yu Tianhao's body. Suddenly, Yu Tianhao's body emitted a dim but beautiful light that was blinding to the eyes. His body ignited a spiritual battle intent that shot into the sky. The cold figure could only be sensed through mental energy and overlapped with Yu Tianhao. The two were one. Destroy. Yu Tianhao's arms shook, overlapping with his icy cold faint shadow. His movements were exactly the same, as if he was possessed by the god of war. Each and every one of his movements was filled with an unparalleled spiritual battle will, destroying all gods and ghosts in the heavens, and annihilating all void forces. With a whoosh, the power from the wind lightning eye flame shattered. Unparalleled in the world, Yu Tianhao seemed to be possessed by a god of war, as he struck out with his palm. A mysterious and magnificent palm light traversed the heavens and the earth, and the might of the heaven and earth yuan qi that was triggered by the palm was almost twice as strong as before. Moreover, that attack contained a terrifying battle intent. It was as if it had materialized and impacted one's soul and mental state. That palm strike could be said to shock the heavens and the earth, and it was as if it was executed by a completely different person. Zhao Feng's mind was shaken, and a trace of shock appeared on his face. Before the attack arrived, the burning fighting will was like a huge wave, battering his mind and mind. Luckily, Zhao Feng's soul was extremely strong. Normal peak True Lord ranks, or even half-step Origin Core realms would have collapsed. Purple destruction, wind lightning destruction. Zhao Feng took a deep breath as a faint purple core appeared in his palm. It was surrounded by azure wind and lightning, and shot out a purple and azure beam of light that contained a forbidden aura. Bung! Like a landslide, the two extreme forces collided with each other. Yu Tianhao's unparalleled in the world seemed to have the upper hand in this clash, and his palm shot towards Zhao Feng. Wang! Zhao Feng reacted extremely quickly, a barrier of water as deep as the sea appearing on his body to block the shockwaves of that powerful attack. However, even then, his figure was pushed back dozens of yards. He's clearly injured, so how did his battle power suddenly increase so much? Zhao Feng's breathing was hurried. He opened his god's spirit eye and saw through Yu Tianhao. The icy shadows that overlapped on Yu Tianhao's body originated from a mysterious bloodline that was stimulated by his strong fighting spirit. This bloodline was connected to the mental energy and was ethereal. Even Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye couldn't see through it, much less copy battle skills. Unparalleled heaven battling bloodline. Patriarch Hong and Dao Sovereign Baiyun exclaimed at the same time. At this moment, Yu Tianhao's bloodline power had been activated, and his battle power rose dramatically. It was as if he had been possessed by the god of war. Yu Tianhao's every move contained a mental battle intent that could suppress experts below the primal core realm. Furthermore, that mysterious bloodline power had an incredible amplification effect on one's battle skills and intents. Unparalleled secret technique, chaotic dance of spring and autumn. Yu Tianhao's black hair blew in the wind, and a bright light covered his body, as if he was wearing the armor of the god of war. At this instant, both his offense and defense had increased dramatically. Pung! As Yu Tianhao's fists and palms blasted out, a series of enormous fist lights and palm shadows appeared. Each palm strike contained an unparalleled spiritual battle intent, crushing everything in its path. He's possessed by the god of war. Tianma Jiang Sanfeng and company were stunned. The hearts of those from the Iron Blood religion rose to their throats. Everyone could only watch as Yu Tianhao turned the situation around and forced Zhao Feng back again, and again with a domineering aura. A few breaths later, tung, 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 Zhao Feng retreated, and the water barrier around him dimmed by more than half. Even if he circulated the power of the purple wind lightning to the maximum, he could only barely clash with Yu Tianhao. Wings of wind and lightning. Zhao Feng's eyes dimmed, and a faint purple light flashed from the core of his source of true spirit. Faint purple chains formed the skeleton, and the azure wind lightning formed the wings, forming a pair of wings of wind and lightning that were even brighter than before. Pa! Pa! As the wings of wind and lightning flapped, the power of wind and lightning within a 10-mile radius was pulled towards him. In a short instant, Zhao Feng turned into a blurry afterimage, and his speed once again surpassed Yu Tianhao's. After merging with the purple wind and lightning, the wings of wind and lightning became even stronger, and it even strengthened Zhao Feng's ability to summon wind and lightning. Shua. The afterimages of the wind and lightning created a series of afterimages as they shuttled back and forth between the clouds. Zhao Feng's speed wasn't only fast, but it also contained the Tao of illusion. This originated from his mental energy illusion and had nothing to do with the wind-lightning tablet inheritance. Even someone as strong as Yu Tianhao with the unparalleled heaven-battling bloodline couldn't keep up with Zhao Feng's speed. Although the unparalleled heaven-battling bloodline was strong, it mainly increased offense, mental energy, and defense. In terms of speed, it didn't increase much. Unparalleled. Yu Tianhao once again executed that strike that seemed to swallow the sun and moon in the sky. The dazzling and mysterious enormous palm of light was coiled with strands of icy cold crystalline brilliance, and it reflected the vast energy of the heavens and the earth, causing everything to shatter everywhere it passed. However, this time, his attack didn't hit Zhao Feng directly. With the support of the wings of wind and lightning, Zhao Feng's speed and agility increased dramatically. The power of his moves also increased. Furthermore, his god's spiritual eye also had a strong prediction ability. Wind lightning eye flame. Purple destruction, wind lightning destruction. Purple destruction, claw of wind and lightning. Zhao Feng dodged and unleashed fierce attacks at the same time. Long-range eye bloodline techniques. AoE techniques, close combat killing moves. Zhao Feng's attacks came one after another. Whoosh! Everyone could only see two figures shuttling through the clouds, locked in a fierce battle. Those from the Iron Blood religion were dazzled. Sometimes, they couldn't even see what was going on. However, one thing was certain. The battle had entered a stalemate. The battle between the two overwhelming prodigies had their own strengths and weaknesses. It was hard to tell who would win in a short amount of time. In terms of true battle power, Yu Tianhao has the obvious advantage, but Zhao Feng's control of the situation is too strong. This is the advantage his eye bloodline gives him. Furthermore, he has the advantage in terms of speed. Dao Sovereign Baiyun sighed. That's right. Yu Tianhao has activated his unparalleled heaven-battling bloodline, and should be unparalleled amongst those of the same cultivation. However, Zhao Feng is also an anomaly. He's forced Yu Tianhao to this point, and still has the upper hand. Patriarch Hong sighed. This battle had established the unparalleled status of the two overwhelming prodigies. It was destined that no genius would be able to match up to them in dozens of generations. In the clouds, divine light of destruction. Zhao Feng's left eye shot out a dazzling azure light that pierced through the clouds and sliced through everything. Isn't this the Golden Sun family's eye bloodline technique? The two sovereigns were slightly dazed. The divine light of destruction was said to be able to analyze all techniques. This time, the divine light of destruction that Zhao Feng had used was the complete version. It split the physical and mental energy at the same time in order to deal with Yu Tianhao, who was almost unparalleled. Shua! The azure-colored rainbow struck Yu Tianhao, quickly cutting through his defenses. However, what disappointed Zhao Feng was that the cold shadow that had merged with Yu Tianhao wasn't affected. It only weakened the physical and mental energy attacks. The cold shadow was a form of bloodline power, and its form couldn't be estimated. This was similar to Zhao Feng's Eye of Heaven, unparalleled secret technique, chaotic dance of spring and autumn. The activation of Yu Tianhao's bloodline became stronger and stronger. Every punch and palm contained unparalleled mental energy and battle intent that attacked Zhao Feng's mind and level. If it wasn't for the fact that Zhao Feng had the god's spiritual eye, and his soul was as strong as a sovereign's, even if he wasn't injured, his battle intent would be worn out, and he would lose. Yu Tianhao's battle power is becoming stronger and stronger. Is there no limit to his bloodline activation? Zhao Feng's expression became solemn. Logically speaking, there should be a limit to the improvement of any bloodline secret skill, and there might even be a price to pay. However, Yu Tianhao became stronger the more he fought. His bloodline was born for battle. Looks like I need to use the Earth-grade divine weapon Shadow in order to win against Yu Tianhao. Zhao Feng's eyes twinkled. When he thought to this point, his left eye turned dark blue, and the ripples on his body turned into a cold light of an ice wolf. Ice Imperial Spear appear. Zhao Feng took a deep breath, and circulated his bloodline power. A half-transparent ice-blue spear shadow appeared in his palm. The shape of the spear was clearer than last time. Woo! An indescribably terrifying chill seeped into the area and froze it. The surrounding heaven-earth yuan qi, and all living things instantly froze. Peng! Yu Tianhao's attack was instantly frozen when it got close. It was like a burning flame that dimmed and extinguished. Chapter 530. The moment the figure of the Earth-grade weapon appeared, the tide of the battle turned. See! Crack! The illusory icy blue light spear glowed with a dazzling crystalline light. With a single sweep, everything in the world froze, turning from hard to brittle. Soon after layer fell off, transforming into countless ice shards and powder. Figure of an Earth-grade weapon. Zhao Feng has a piece of an Earth-grade weapon? The two martial sovereigns were shocked. There didn't seem to be a complete Earth-grade weapon in the Azure Flower continent. A portion of the sovereigns had pieces of Earth-grade weapons, and a small number of them had complete parts. At this point in time, a piece of an Earth-grade weapon had appeared in the hands of the overwhelming prodigy. This was obviously shocking. As for a complete Earth-grade weapon, the two sovereigns couldn't imagine it. Break! Zhao Feng circulated his bloodline power, and used a portion of the Ice Imperial Spear's aura to create the effect of a broken Earth-grade weapon. Yu Tianhao's expression changed dramatically. No matter how strong his skill was, it was instantly shattered by Zhao Feng's coldness. Peng! His bloodline froze as he was pushed back dozens of yards by the powerful aura of the Earth-grade weapon. Zhao Feng didn't immediately chase after him, because the power of an Earth-grade weapon was too terrifying. If he didn't control it, it could easily kill normal half-step origin core realms. Thinking back in the 100 Graves Forbidden Ground, Zhao Feng had used the figure of the Earth-grade weapon to beat the skeletal division leader to the point where it couldn't fight back at all. Now that Zhao Feng had become stronger in every aspect, the power of his Earth-grade weapon was even stronger than before. Humph! A piece of an Earth-grade weapon? Yu Tianhao's battle intent didn't fade as he snickered coldly and grabbed at the air. Shua! A 3-inch-long broken sword hilt appeared in his hand, condensing into a resounding broken sword shadow. In a split second, a king's might of the sword Dao deterred everyone present. Sword hilt. A piece of an Earth-grade weapon? Zhao Feng paused. The Ice Imperial Spear that he had obtained could be considered complete. It was slightly different from these fragments. Of course, Zhao Feng couldn't use the entire Ice Imperial Spear. He could only use a portion of it, which was equivalent to using an Earth-grade divine armament fragment. This broken sword hilt was probably the weapon of a Void God Realm King, when it was complete. That terrifying aura made the hearts of the two supremacies tremble. Unparalleled in the world, Yu Tianhao and the overlapping cold shadow moved at the same time. The broken sword hilt sent out an Earth-grade sword shadow, which shone with a brilliant light, and attacked Zhao Feng. Meanwhile, Zhao Feng activated a beautiful ice crystal blue spear image. Wind and lightning revolved around it, and purple streams darted about as it ruthlessly swept over. Ding! Hiss! Two different types of Earth-ranked divine weapons clashed against each other. A terrifying aura instantly froze this entire space. Sparks flew, and a small hole appeared in Zhao Feng's ice-blue spear shadow. But in the next instant, the terrifying cold power instantly froze Yu Tianhao's broken sword light. Woo! The auras of the two Earth-grade divine weapons intertwined with each other and created ripples of forbidden power. Blood leaked out of the mouths of both Zhao Feng and Yu Tianhao. The difference was, the injuries on Zhao Feng's body started to heal bit by bit under the nourishment of his bloodline power. After all, this was an injury caused by the aura of an Earth-grade divine weapon, and there would be an invisible resistance that stopped the recovery. Yu Tianhao's situation was slightly worse. The recovery speed of the injuries on his body was half as slow. This was under the effect of his unparalleled heaven-battling bloodline, which gave him shocking defense and extraordinary recovery speed. Not good. If this continues, our lives will be in danger. The expressions of the two sovereigns changed dramatically. This was because the power that the two overwhelming prodigies controlled had exceeded their limits, and they could even threaten sovereigns. Stop! A clear voice sounded from the clouds in the distance, and the heaven-earth yuan qi surged like a flood, forming an invisible pressure that suppressed everything within dozens of miles. When the voice sounded, Dao Sovereign Baiyun and Patriarch Hong's hearts shook, and they felt an unknown pressure. Whoosh! A handsome man descended between Zhao Feng and Yu Tianhao amidst the raging yuan qi tide. Sovereign Yu Xingqian, Patriarch Hong blurted out as he recognized the newcomer. Open! Yu Xingqian slowly waved his hand, and a beautiful translucent palm appeared. It gradually grew larger, and from top to bottom, it forcefully wrapped around the power of the two Earth-grade divine weapon phantoms. Bam bam! The two prodigy kings were knocked half a mile away by a combination of hard and soft power. Zhao Feng's blood churned, and he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. When he looked closely, the forbidden power created by the collision of the two Earth-grade divine weapon shadows was temporarily trapped by Yu Xingqian and was slowly being worn down. A few breaths later, poof! The forbidden power created by the collision was completely destroyed by Yu Xingqian. Yu Xingqian let out a sigh of relief before glaring fiercely at Yu Tianhao. You really are audacious. Do you think you can bear the consequences of using the unparalleled heaven-battling bloodline without restraint? Yu Tianhao was silent. However, his mental energy and battle intent started to fade, and he was like a dead tree. Obviously, the unparalleled heaven-battling bloodline had side effects after using it. Once this bloodline was used too much, there seemed to be even more terrifying consequences. How can a true Lord rank use a broken Earth-grade weapon? If I didn't arrive in time, your lives would have been in danger. Yu Xingqian calmed his aura and scanned over Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng didn't deny it, but fear was still on his face. If it was just the power of a broken Earth-grade weapon, he could barely control it. However, if the auras of two Earth-grade divine weapons clashed with each other, the resulting backlash would be something that even venerables would choose to avoid. Yu Xingqian, luckily you arrived in time. Patriarch Hong let out a long breath. Although the two sovereigns could stop Zhao Feng and Yu Tianhao's Earth-grade weapons, they couldn't guarantee that the two overwhelming prodigies wouldn't be injured. However, Sovereign Yu Xingqian had this ability. He forcefully controlled the power of the Earth-grade weapons and destroyed it, so that Zhao Feng and Yu Tianhao wouldn't be injured. Yu Xingqian's expression softened as he greeted the two sovereigns. However, he didn't stay for long. Tianhao, there's not much time left. Let's go. This chance only comes once every 20 years. Yu Xingqian's expression tightened as he placed his hand on his son's shoulder. Okay. Yu Tianhao nodded his head. His expression was slightly weak, and his blood was weak. Before they left, he glanced at Zhao Feng and said in a low tone, I didn't expect to meet such a strong opponent before leaving the Azure Flower continent. Zhao Feng was surprised. It wasn't hard to guess that Yu Tianhao was determined to win this battle. Before the battle, Yu Tianhao never thought that he wouldn't win. In the entire continent, you are also my only opponent. Zhao Feng nodded his head faintly. Yu Tianhao's strength had also exceeded Zhao Feng's expectations. Before using the Earth-grade weapon, he could only fight Yu Tianhao to a standstill. Even if he used the aura of the Earth-grade weapon, he wouldn't be able to win. However, after this battle we'll fight again. Maybe in 5 years, 10 years, or even longer. Yu Tianhao's aura was extremely dim. 5 years, 10 years, or even longer. Zhao Feng paused. Yu Tianhao seemed to want to leave the Azure Flower continent, and the place he wanted to go was extremely far. Why don't we make a deal? Let's fight again in 10 years. Yu Tianhao was so tired that he couldn't even open his eyes. The side effects of overusing the unparalleled heaven-battling bloodline were battering at his mind and consciousness. Okay, 10 years. Zhao Feng nodded his head. He also understood that after reaching the true lord rank, the increase in strength would become slower and slower. Every bottleneck would take dozens of years. For the future, 10 years wasn't that long. Let's go. Yu Xingqian interrupted their conversation. Dragging Yu Tianhao, he turned into a beautiful shadow and disappeared into the clouds in a few breaths of time. A while later, Yu Xingchen dragged Yu Tianhao and flew several hundred miles away. Father, if you didn't stop me, would I have been the final winner? Yu Tianhao's eyelids twitched. In theory, the unparalleled heaven-battling bloodline can be used indefinitely and increase one's battle power through battle. If you keep fighting, your chances of winning will be higher. Sovereign Yu Xingchen didn't deny it. If Zhao Feng was here and heard this, he would be stunned. There was such a terrifying bloodline in the world that could be used indefinitely and increase one's battle power. Hearing this, a smile appeared on Yu Tianhao's face, as if he was happy that his father had acknowledged him. However, Yu Xingchen's tone changed. If you use the unparalleled heaven-battling bloodline too much, it's very likely that you'll win or die. On the other hand, even if Zhao Feng loses, he can live. Father, Yu Tianhao's expression changed slightly. Therefore, the final winner is Zhao Feng. Yu Xingchen snorted coldly. Hearing this, Yu Tianhao didn't seem to accept it. However, his father's next words made him speechless. Throughout history, regardless of victory or defeat, the one who can live to the end and laugh is the true winner. Yu Tianhao fell into deep thought. The unparalleled heaven-battling bloodline could, in theory, be used indefinitely before one's soul and life force was used up. This was heaven-defying. But the consequence was that one had to pay an equal price after the battle. Simply put, how much you overdraft you had to pay back after the battle. This was the principle of balance. Looking at Yu Tianhao and Zhao Feng's battle, if Yu Tianhao won in the end, the overdraft of his soul and body would very likely cause him to die, because Zhao Feng's bloodline recovery was too strong, and his speed was a level higher. It was almost impossible to defeat him in a short amount of time. If Yu Tianhao wanted to win, he had to pay the price of death. Tianhao, don't force it. Go to sleep as soon as possible. Leave the rest of the journey to me. A trace of affection appeared between Yu Xingchen's brows. He carried the gradually falling asleep Yu Tianhao on his back and tried to fly as steadily as possible. In reality, Yu Xingchen had been watching the battle from afar, watching the majority of the battle from afar. In the end, Zhao Feng and Yu Tianhao ended in a draw. For Yu Xingchen, this was the most ideal situation. Because Yu Tianhao's path of growth had been too smooth, he needed a strong opponent to sharpen his mind and prevent his confidence from inflating. As a father, Yu Xingchen was very thoughtful. But what he didn't know was that this kind of tempering was also applied to Zhao Feng. Chapter 531. Above the clouds. Zhao Feng sent off Yu Xingchen and his father with a solemn expression. After returning from the inheritance, his strength had increased again and again. His cultivation, intense soul power, bloodline, and other aspects had all increased. In the last year, he had even comprehended a few wisps of the purple destruction wind lightning. With this kind of battle power, he was invincible against anyone under the origin core realm. However, today's battle made the arrogance and pride in his heart disappear. There's always someone better. Who knows how many powerful bloodline geniuses there are in this world? I'm just standing at the peak of the Azure Flower continent. The light in Zhao Feng's eyes was unwavering. Only by continuously improving and opening up one's own potential could one surpass those miraculous legends. Zhao Feng, how are your injuries? Patriarch Hong and Tianma flew through the air. They were already thankful that there weren't any casualties in the battle, just now between Zhao Feng and Yu Tianhao. I'm fine. Zhao Feng had a smile on his face as a warm blue water started to circulate around his body, cleansing his organs and moisturizing his body. From the end of the battle until now, his injuries had mostly recovered. Patriarch Hong and Tianma looked at each other and couldn't help but be surprised. In a true battle, Zhao Feng had the biggest advantage. At the very least, he would be able to survive longer. After this battle, Zhao Feng returned to normal and took up the position of Deputy Patriarch of the Iron Blood religion. However, compared to Tianma, this Deputy Patriarch position was much more relaxed and free. He didn't have many opportunities to manage the Iron Blood religion. Furthermore, in the current Canopy Great Country, the Iron Blood religion ruled over everything. Almost all the forces in the world submitted to them. At least on the surface, no force dared to challenge the Iron Blood religion. This way, most of Zhao Feng's time could be spent on comprehension and cultivation. He started to organize and perfect his eye bloodline. Right now, as he cultivated his eye bloodline's power was becoming more condensed and condensed. However, due to the limitations of his current level, Zhao Feng couldn't make much progress in his eye bloodline techniques. I've basically learned all 3 eye bloodline techniques on the continent. Zhao Feng finally discovered a limitation. In the Azure Flower continent, it was difficult for him to learn new eye bloodline arts. Of course, his focus was still the inheritance of the Wind Thunder Tablet. His comprehension of the Purple Tempest Lightning had already reached 10%. 1/10 seemed like a small amount. In reality, the Purple Destruction, Wind Lightning secret technique that Zhao Feng used could already kill ordinary half-step primal core realms. Besides, Zhao Feng didn't slack off in his cultivation of the Ice Imperial Spear. The Ice Imperial Spear was an Earth-grade inheritance divine weapon. The more Zhao Feng comprehended it, the stronger the Earth-grade inheritance divine weapon's aura would be. But at the moment, Zhao Feng didn't dare to use the Ice Imperial Spear. In theory, his soul power was comparable to a sovereign's, and his mental energy wasn't weaker than normal half-step sovereigns either. It wasn't impossible for him to use the Ice Imperial Spear. However, it was a relatively complete Earth-rank divine weapon, and an inherited one at that. If it was exposed easily, it would be too shocking. Therefore, Zhao Feng didn't dare to try it right now. In the blink of an eye, half a year passed. In this half a year, Zhao Feng had consolidated and improved in many aspects. But due to the limitations of the Azure Flower continent, he didn't have any obvious breakthroughs. Master, we've used up most of the resources we've gathered in the past half a year. The skeletal division leader's voice sounded through the dark heart seed. How's the progress? Zhao Feng's consciousness entered the 10,000 Ghost Pearl. Inside the myriad Ghost Pearl, the dark, damp soil was shrouded in ghostly mist and yin qi. In one area, 5 true Lord-rank ghost corpses stood in a row. Their auras were mostly at the early stage or late stage true Lord ranks. These 5 true Lord-rank ghost corpses were mainly made from the cursed corpses from the 100 Graves Forbidden Ground, so their auras were different from normal ghost corpses. Zhao Feng's 2 dark silver ghost corpses were in another corner. Their auras were close to the late-stage True Lord rank, but adding on the corpse poison from those below the origin core realm, they couldn't be measured by normal standards. This meant that Zhao Feng now had a total of 7 True Lord rank ghost corpses. If others knew about this, who knew how shocked they would be? One had to know. The 4 major families of the Canopy Great Country only had 5 or 6 True Lord ranks. The 100 Corpse plan is only 5% complete. Zhao Feng's eyebrows furrowed as if he wasn't satisfied. His 2 dark silver ghost corpses weren't part of the 100 Corpse plan. Master, it's not a problem of my refining speed anymore. It's just that resources are getting more and more scarce. The skeletal division leader smiled bitterly. Zhao Feng didn't doubt it. He already had the main material to refine True Lord rank ghost corpses. However, the other resources were also extremely rare in the Azure Flower continent. Even though he used the Iron Blood religion's power and attended some high-class auctions, he still didn't have enough resources. I'll find a way to get more resources in the future. Oh right, how's your strength? Zhao Feng's tone changed. Within the 10,000 Ghost Pearl, the skeletal division leader's aura wasn't much different from a true sovereign. I've recovered 60 to 70% of my battle power, and can barely fight against normal sovereigns for a while. If I meet a powerful sovereign like Yu Xingchen, I probably won't be able to last more than a few moves. The skeletal division leader replied. Hearing this, Zhao Feng was satisfied. The skeletal division leader's strength had surpassed the half-step origin core realm after recovering 60 to 70% of its battle power. If he didn't use his Earth-grade weapon, it would be hard for Zhao Feng to beat the skeletal division leader in a head-on battle. Time flew by, and another 2 to 3 months passed. At this moment, Zhao Feng's 100 Ghost Corpse plan had barely reached 6%, and he had a total of 6 true Lord rank Ghost Corpses. Unfortunately, I don't have enough resources. Otherwise, if I gathered more than 10 true Lord rank Ghost Corpses, I'd be able to recreate the Ghost Corpse cursed array. Once I gather 50, I'll be able to greatly restrict a sovereign's strength. If I gather 100, I might even be able to threaten a sovereign's life. The skeletal division leader said regretfully. 2 dark red flames flickered in his eye sockets. He was curious as to what other methods Zhao Feng had to obtain the remaining resources. At least with the Azure Flower Continent's current situation, it would take at least 100 years for Zhao Feng to create 100 Ghost Corpse core. Zhao Feng kept his mouth shut about this secret, not revealing a single thing. On this day, Zhao Feng once again stood up and headed towards the purple rising great country in the northern continent to attend a large auction. According to the information, there were some resources that Zhao Feng urgently needed in this auction. In the wilderness, in front of them was a vast and complicated mountain range. Zhao Feng turned into a bolt of lightning as he flew through the mountains with extreme speed. If it was a normal true lord rank, it would be pretty good if they could fly several thousand miles. On the other hand, Zhao Feng's Heaven-Earth Yuan Qi was almost 10 times stronger than normal true lord ranks due to his strong intent and soul. At his level, even some half-step sovereigns could fly for a long time. It wasn't hard for them to travel several tens of thousands of miles. At a certain moment, a 1,000-yard-tall mountain appeared in his vision that pierced through the clouds and covered a radius of several hundred miles. This Pangyan Sky Peak is an important symbol for entering the purple rising great country from the south and can see several thousand miles. Zhao Feng had a map in his mind. Such a huge mountain was even marked on the map of the continent. Suddenly, Zhao Feng's left eye twitched as he looked toward the top of the Pangyan Sky Peak. In reality, the middle of the heavenly cloud peak was already shrouded in clouds and mist. Who's there? Zhao Feng felt a cold energy penetrating his soul. Even with his cultivation and soul power, he still felt uneasy. He was just about to use his god's spiritual eye, 3-eyed divine light, a beam of light as dazzling as the sun, carrying with it a flame that could incinerate all things, shot through the air like a blazing meteor toward Zhao Feng. It's you, the 3-eyed saint. Zhao Feng's left eye instantly shot out a cold beam of light that easily shattered the 3-eyed divine light. A golden-haired youth appeared in the clouds. It was the 3-eyed saint. Zhao Feng obviously didn't put a measly 3-eyed saint in his eyes. However, his expression was solemn as his eyes pierced through the clouds. An icy power that could freeze the world seemed to surge out from nature, covering the sky and earth. In that instant, Zhao Feng seemed to have entered the extreme north ice zone. Mystic Ice Queen. Zhao Feng's heart went cold, and his expression changed slightly. In his field of vision, a white-robed beauty wearing an ice crown and holding an ice bone scepter descended from the sky, looking like an ice queen. The Mystic Ice Queen seemed to be at the center of the Heaven-Earth Yuan Qi. The power of an origin core sovereign seemed to come from nature and spread across dozens of miles. Sizzle water droplets in the air turned to ice, and frost started to form within 10 miles. Zhao Feng's blood showed signs of freezing, and this was under the premise that his bloodline could absorb the coldness. Sheng Tian, watch from the side, and use your sacred eye bloodline to lock onto Zhao Feng. The Mystic Ice Queen's eyes were filled with killing intent, but she didn't hesitate and ordered the 3-eyed saint. Before trying to kill Zhao Feng, the Mystic Ice Queen had thought about Zhao Feng's wings of wind and lightning. Maybe he had some way to escape. Mystic Ice Queen, you're indeed unwilling to give up and want to take revenge for the 3-eyed saint. Zhao Feng's expression was solemn. This was the first time he had to face an origin core realm sovereign alone. Zhao Feng, if you're willing to hand over the unknown inheritance, I might let you live. The Mystic Ice Queen waved her hand, and the air of ice howled. A ring of cold wind that was 1 to 2 miles wide descended from the sky and trapped the area Zhao Feng was in. The power of the cold wind was enough to rip apart normal true lord ranks within its range. Even if this move couldn't kill Zhao Feng, it would still restrict him. Let me live? Mystic Ice Queen. Three-eyed saint, if you stop now, you still have a chance. Zhao Feng laughed coldly. Shameless. The Mystic Ice Queen pointed out with her finger, and the 2-mile-wide circle of cold wind started to close in on Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng, you only have yourself to blame. On the other side, the three-eyed saint activated his sacred eye bloodline and locked onto the area Zhao Feng was in. He didn't want to kill Zhao Feng. He just wanted to restrict Zhao Feng's movements. Chapter 532. On one side was a sovereign descending from the sky, and on the other side was the three-eyed saint's all-out attack. In this situation, even if Zhao Feng used the wings of wind and lightning, he wouldn't be able to escape. However, Zhao Feng didn't seem to have any intentions of dodging. Hu, a dark mist appeared in front of Zhao Feng. Wu, a human-shaped skeleton suddenly appeared in the mist. Its bones were gold and silver, and 2 balls of red flames danced in its eye sockets. That's... The Mystic Ice Queen's heart shook when she saw the gold and silver skeleton's eye sockets. A corrosive mental energy aura swept over, and even the Mystic Ice Queen, who was at the origin core realm, felt uncomfortable. After all, the skeletal division leader was a sovereign that specialized in mental energy. If it was at its peak, it would be able to kill sovereigns of the same cultivation. At this point in time, Zhao Feng and the skeletal division leader each faced off against the ring of cold wind. Zhezha, an inheritance technique of the Mystic Ice Palace. The skeletal division leader laughed as a gold and silver bone whip appeared in its hand. With a flick of it, waves of purple and red flames appeared, making it seem like a dancing bone dragon. Boom! The ring of cold wind was instantly shattered by the skeletal division leader's gold and silver bone whip. However, the Mystic Ice Queen's ring of cold wind was a long-range attack that continuously sucked away the heaven-earth yuan qi. The ring of cold wind wouldn't be destroyed so easily. Purple destruction, wind-lightning destruction. Facing an origin core realm sovereign, Zhao Feng didn't dare to hold back. A faint purple core appeared in his palm and was surrounded by azure wind and lightning. It released a beam of purple and azure light that contained a forbidden aura. Whoosh! The purple azure beam of light carried a ring-shaped tornado of wind and lightning, and it emitted a destructive aura that destroyed the icy cold wind that neared it. At this point in time, with the help of Zhao Feng and the skeletal division leader, they managed to block the sovereign's attack. The skeletal division leader had recovered 60 to 70% of its battle power, so it didn't feel much pressure blocking only half of the attacks. It waved its gold and silver bone whip and sent out flaming bone dragons. Even if some of it landed on the skeletal division leader, it wouldn't matter. The skeletal division leader's gold and silver bones were comparable to bone cultivators of the same cultivation. Even at this point in time, it could block 60 to 70% of the damage from normal sovereigns. In comparison, Zhao Feng urged the purple destruction wind lightning power Upanishad to the limit to resolve the other half of the attack. However, his body was being eroded by the cold power. Gurgle. Fortunately, he activated the power of his bloodline and switched between ice and water, which allowed him to absorb the cold energy and heal his injuries. Zhao Feng couldn't help but sigh. There was still a gap between him and the skeletal division leader. So it's an injured supremacy. The Mystic Ice Queen snickered coldly in the air. She pressed her hand down, and an enormous mountain of ice appeared. It was 100 yards wide and gave off a cold aura. In the process of the ice-light mountain shadow pressing down, the void in the earth faintly shook, as if the power of a natural glacier collapse was not something that could be resisted by humans. Not good. The expressions of Zhao Feng and the skeletal division leader changed dramatically. The attacks of those at the origin core realm became the center of the heaven-earth yuan qi and merged with the power of nature. Zhao Feng's breathing stopped as he felt that the mountain seemed to contain the limitless power of nature. The area he was in seemed to be sealed off. Furthermore, the three-eyed saint was still harassing him. Bung! The 100-meter-wide ice-light mountain shadow was like a natural glacier collapsing. The terrifying energy and cold energy surged out, causing the two people below to sway. The skeletal division leader was barely able to block it, but Zhao Feng almost spat out a mouthful of blood. At the critical moment, Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye turned into a bone-chilling pond. Wang! Zhao Feng's blue hair blew in the wind as a tall figure appeared behind him. It had a crown on its head, and a giant black sword in its hand. Below it was a throne of ice. Instantly, everything that got close to Zhao Feng was absorbed by the figure and the throne. However, even then, Zhao Feng could only dissolve the coldness coming from the mountain. The ice-light mountain contained the power of nature, and it could instantly turn a half-step origin core realm into ice shards. Right at this critical moment, three-eyed divine light, golden crow world incineration. In the distance, the three-eyed saint's third eye was like a blazing sun. Boom! A three-legged flaming bird in the shape of a golden crow turned into a blazing sun that shot toward Zhao Feng. The three-eyed saint's hatred for Zhao Feng could be said to be irreconcilable. All of his attacks were aimed at Zhao Feng. Wind lightning eye flame. Zhao Feng could only use one eye flame to block the three-eyed saint's attack. But this way, Zhao Feng had almost reached his limit in dealing with the ice fan. Most of the pressure was taken on by the skeletal division leader. At this moment, a rare flash of joy appeared in the skeletal division leader's eyes. If Zhao Feng dies here, the dark heart seed in the depths of my soul won't be a threat anymore. Of course, the skeletal division leader wouldn't go easy on him. Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye's control of the situation was unparalleled. He was just hoping that the pressure from the mystic ice queen would be even greater. The greater the danger, the greater the chance of escaping from Zhao Feng's control. Ice Imperial Spirit appear. At this moment, a half-transparent ice blue spear shadow appeared in Zhao Feng's palm. Who? An indescribably terrifying chill seeped into the area and froze it. The surrounding heaven-earth yuan qi, and all living things instantly froze. That ice blue light spear was covered in beautiful ice crystals. When it pierced through the air, everything in the world shattered. That unstoppable huge ice mountain was peeled off layer by layer, turning into countless ice shards and powder. With the appearance of the Earth-grade weapon, Zhao Feng's battle power even surpassed the skeletal division leader. Break! Zhao Feng and the skeletal division leader increased their offense at the same time. Only then were they able to destroy the Mystic Ice Queen's attack. Skeletal division leader, how confident are we in killing the Mystic Ice Queen? Zhao Feng's voice sounded through the dark heart seed. What? Kill this sovereign in front of us? The skeletal division leader almost tripped, and its face twitched. Master, we'll have to pay a heavy price if we want to survive this sovereign's attack, and we might not even succeed. As for killing her, the chances are 0 unless I'm at my peak. The skeletal division leader's eyes were filled with bitterness. It didn't understand. With Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye, how could he not see the situation? However, how could Zhao Feng not see the situation? Even if he teamed up with the skeletal division leader, they would have to pay a heavy price to defeat the Mystic Ice Queen and keep their lives. Even if they succeeded, the skeletal division leader would return to its original state. You still dare to be distracted while fighting me? A mocking smile appeared on the Mystic Ice Queen's face as she raised her hand and summoned an ice wind whirlpool dragon that was even stronger than the previous 2 attacks. The skeletal division leader's heart tightened. The pressure it faced this time was even greater. As expected of a sovereign. This is even better. A faint laugh came from the blue-haired youth next to it. Laugh. He could still laugh. The skeletal division leader's face went green. If Zhao Feng died, it would most likely die facing the Mystic Ice Queen alone. The skeletal division leader found that something was wrong. Zhao Feng didn't use the Earth-grade weapon anymore. Shua! A carved dragon jade talisman appeared in his hand. That's... The Mystic Ice Queen's heart jumped as she felt uneasy. Jade Dragon Protection. Open. The carved dragon jade talisman in Zhao Feng's hand suddenly released a bright light, and the image of an ancient true dragon appeared. Woo! The low roar of an ancient true dragon reverberated through the heavens and the earth. That huge ancient true dragon phantom exuded a supreme power that surpassed the heavens and earth. What? That's the skeletal division leader and the mystic ice queen both felt an immeasurable pressure on their souls. Could this be the legendary void god protection? But a strong pressure came from the depths of the skeletal division leader's soul, and its body stiffened. The flames in its eye sockets almost stopped moving. At this moment, the heaven-earth yuan qi within several hundred miles seemed to be locked down by an invisible force, and a pressure that came from the soul made everything within 1,000 miles tremble. Die! Zhao Feng pointed the dragon jade talisman at the mystic ice queen. Who? The giant ancient green dragon shadow broke through the air towards the Xian ice queen, and brought with it the power of an ancient true dragon. Everywhere it passed, the heaven-earth yuan qi shook, and there was a feeling of the universe shaking. Crack! First, the icy wind vortex frost dragon shattered upon contact. The two weren't even on the same level. No, don't! The black ice queen screamed, but under the ancient true dragon aura, her soul was sealed and she couldn't dodge at all. In reality, the jade dragon protection wasn't fast, but its trajectory was clear. However, the mystic ice queen couldn't dodge it. When one's strength reached a certain level, logic would be broken. Arg! The mystic ice queen screamed as her strong defense was instantly shattered like paper. Even sovereigns at the origin core realm were turned to dust under the power of the heaven-shaking divine art. Palace Master. The three-eyed saint's soul almost left his body in fear. His face went pale, and his body started to tremble. An origin core sovereign that stood at the peak of the continent was killed by Zhao Feng's carving dragon jade talisman. The power of this jade dragon protection is obviously stronger than the void god protection Yi Yin Yu used. Zhao Feng suppressed the shock in his heart. At the same time, a crack appeared on the dragon jade talisman in his hand, and its light dimmed by half. Basically speaking, the jade dragon protection was also a type of void god protection, but it was even more unique. The material it was made from contained a wisp of the bloodline of an ancient true dragon. On the side, the skeletal division leader's mouth gaped open as cold sweat started to form in its heart. It didn't expect Zhao Feng to be so strong and use a killing move to kill an origin core realm sovereign. Right at this moment, Zhao Feng put away the jade talisman and glanced at the skeletal division leader. The skeletal division leader's heart shook as a coldness spread from its feet to its body. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.